got Gaston, Chef Pete. What's up? Daryl, Sonia is a bot. We got Dawn, Jorge, Herschel, and James. What's going on, folks? Hope you are well tonight. What do we got over on YouTube? Of course, Fred gets first. Very consistent, my man. How you doing? We got Raz, Gordo, and me over on Rumble. And just getting going here. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts as we go, because this is a weird one, per usual. Yes, indeed. Where is the YouTube chat? Where did I lose it? I lost it. There it is. Okay, here we go. Troubled Minds happening right now.
But I think the development of full artificial intelligence will spell the end of the human race.
It's a flying object and we don't know what it is. I would hope somebody is checking it out.
I don't know whether rockets or whatever, but incredibly fast, opposite direction. They were too fast to be an airplane.
I'm glad the Pentagon is looking at this, because if it poses a threat, I want them on top of it.
Well, the craft generates its own gravitational field.
You said there's lightning in the sky?
The internet has become the command center for criminals and terrorists.
911, what's your emergency? I need help, please help!
Aliens won't let it happen. You know, that's what we're instructed to say.
Roswell, Area 51. Alien kept deep under the ground.
1, 1, 10, 9, 7. Is self-serving. You're here for a reason. You're listening to Troubled Minds Radio. Broadcasting live from a secret bunker just off the extraterrestrial highway. Somewhere in the desert sands outside of Las Vegas. From somewhere in space-time, loosely labeled Generation X on planet Earth. And asking questions of you in earnest into the digital darkness.
Well, good evening, and welcome to Troubled Minds Radio. Wow, why is that different? My sound is different. What's happening, folks? My name is Mike. This is Troubled Minds, and we talk about wild ideas. It's what we do. It's what we've been doing for quite a long time now. And the whole point of these conversations, as usual, is, well, to consider possibilities. And per usual, as always, there's no answers here. I'm not here claiming to be some guru that knows some things you don't know or whatever. I'm just a guy that likes thinking in non-linear terms and wondering what we've missed about the past, the present, and the future. It's as simple as that. It doesn't need to be any more complicated, does it? But of course, you get people with the wrong idea, so you got to make sure you lay down the groundwork as we go. This is a live show, so we are taking your phone calls if you want to be part of the conversation tonight. The way to do that is to dial 702-957-1037. You can click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. That's the official website. And all the rest of it. Of course, we're streaming in all the places you would expect. We are on digital radio. That's KUAP Digital Broadcasting out of Las Vegas. And of course, 88.4 FM Auckland, New Zealand. And let's get to it, shall we? Thanks for bearing with me as I work through the audio here. It's bizarre. You reset the sound card and everything is different. It's like, wait, that was loud this time. Now this is quiet this time. Anyway, whatever. I'll bore you with the details on that never. But here we go. So we start here. Now, this is a weird one because, of course, as usual, there's a lot of things happening, not just, let's say, in terms of, let's say, the mass media, okay, and clickbait and all the BS nonsense out there. There's a ton of. I mean, let's be real. There's just a ton of it. It's phony. It's intentionally phony. It's intentionally misleading. But then there's also some people out there doing some science. And, you know, not science, the trademark science, trust the experts. real science, actual science, kind of the old hypothesis and testing. And, anyway, I came across this article. This is from neurosciencenews.com. And wouldn't you know it? It's talking about the actual lost limb. Okay, so here's the headline. Brain retains lost limbs control map, defying plasticity theories. What does that mean? Yeah, exactly. Okay, let me read a little bit of this. There's two versions of this paper. They will be linked in the description. And there's a fantastic image here of them describing what this looks like. What do I do? How do I do this? All right, how I do it this way. I'm going to do show you the Comet Assistant, and I'll just read the summary. There you go. A new study challenges long-standing neuroscience theories by showing that the brain's map of a lost limb remains intact long after amputation, rather than being overtaken by neighboring areas, a process called cortical plasticity. Using functional MRI scans of patients before and up to 5 years after amputation, researchers found little to no change in brain activity patterns when participants attempted to move either their real or phantom fingers, which again is back to this really cool graphic here, which you can see, and it is pretty amazing. So what they did, it's very simple here. They did these MRI scans before amputation, and the person would move their lips, and they would, kind of track in the brain where that, movement stimulus came from to kind of send the, move the lips, right? We're not going to actually amputate your lips. We're going to amputate your hand or your arm or something. So then they did, okay, so now move your left arm. And they traced these actual scans were picking up where the brain was firing for these particular things. Now, they found out that after amputation, that this wild business of the brain kind of reforming and that cortical plasticity it doesn't seem to be true at all. Or, we talk about neuroplasticity in terms of neuroscience, modern neuroscience, and being able to kind of change not necessarily who you are, but sort of maybe your old ways, and look to a new horizon in terms of chemistry, in terms of the actual biological aspect of being a human. But anyway, so the bizarre part is that they measured this 3 months, 6 months, and a year and a half later, and you can see from the graphics here that the brain literally didn't stop actually sending signals to the hand, to the amputated part of the body. Again, up to a year and a half and even more later. Now, as usual, this is one of those things that kind of flies in the face of science, at least consensus science, that cortical plasticity would sort of start to cover that area and realize it's not there anymore. And, sending, to pick something up with a hand that's not there, you can't pick anything up because the hand actually doesn't pick anything up. However, this seems to not be the case. This seems to be something that persists years into the future, as if the body never really recognizes that the limb is gone, and the brain sort of never does that cortical plasticity to kind of cover for it or adapt without it, which is weird because this really kind of goes back to some really, really old spaces, some really, really old ideas, including, of course, versions of the soul or versions of, how would you call it? I don't know. The write-up's very good. Let me read this from the write-up because that's the best way to do this. Straight from the thing. And do check it out. The write-up tonight is very good. It usually is. And I've been using, like I said, the Comet browser, which is from Perplexity, and it is magnificent. And I'll show you here. I'll do a summary of the write-up itself. And anyway, so I'm going to read straight from it. So the phantom limb study conducted by the National Institutes of Health has revealed something extraordinary that challenges our fundamental understanding of consciousness and the brain. When researchers scanned people before and after arm amputation, they discovered that the brain's detailed map of the missing limb remained completely intact for years. Machine learning algorithms could still identify which phantom finger a person was trying to move with the same precision as before the surgery. This finding overturns decades of scientific belief about brain plasticity and cortical remapping, as we just said there. And so what makes this discovery truly remarkable, and this is where we start to get weird, as you know me, we're going to get weird. What makes this discovery truly remarkable is how perfectly it aligns with ancient magical and mystical traditions from around the world. The ancient Egyptians described the Ka, K-A, if you've ever heard of this, a spiritual double that maintains the exact form and function of the physical body even after death. They believed this ethereal duplicate could move, sense, and experience the world independently of physical matter. The phantom limb research provides evidence, scientific evidence, for exactly this phenomenon. People with amputated limbs report vivid sensations, detailed movements, and complete awareness of body parts that no longer exist physically. I'll bookmark that. We'll get back to it momentarily. Now, this is the weird part. This is where you ask yourself a couple of questions. Number one, do you believe there is a human soul or some sort of actual ethereal substrate or ethereal lattice that's operating beneath the substrate? Okay, which could be this mirror, this ka, this whatever, the human soul, or and how does our mind actually account for that? And is it always and continually accounting for those sorts of things that we don't even recognize? And of course, beyond that, we'll get more weird as we go, because that's what we do here. But that's where we start tonight. Again, the link is in the Discord, and the write-up is in the description. Do check it out if you're interested in these ideas. They are very good. I'll drop the study in the chat in just a second here. But a lot of things in play, and a lot of things make me wonder what the hell's going on with this, as if our body doesn't even recognize that we've lost a limb entirely. I mean, clearly, if you're walking on one leg, that's going to be very different and might change things. But if we're moving fingers and stuff, and you get the arm, which may or may not be a dire necessity every moment. Maybe it's not. Maybe these things will change as the science comes in. But anyway, that's your thought. That's where we begin tonight, and that's what's on my mind. I hope you guys are doing well, hanging out, doing the thing. I appreciate you being here and ready to go when we start. And thanks for listening to me ramble on into the night. We're going to get a quick word from our sponsor. In this case, that's Human Inspiration. Don't go anywhere. More Troubled Minds coming up in exactly 1 minute. We got James on the line, and your calls as well coming up. What do you know about this? And of course, the question becomes, how weird does it get? Be right back. Don't go anywhere.
In a world increasingly shaped by AI, human inspiration remains the beating heart of creativity. Alien Skin by Tremble, a hauntingly beautiful piano ballad, reminds us that while algorithms can mimic art, the raw, unfiltered emotions of human experience are irreplaceable.
So here I sit, locked in my room again.
Written and composed by Jesse Ian in collaboration with Todd Smith, this progressive masterpiece delves into the depths of internalized grief and the silent toll of artistic compromise. As AI reshapes our reality, Alien Skin stands as a testament to the timeless power of human emotion and the complex beauty that only true artists can evoke. Experience the haunting beauty of Alien Skin by Tremble and support human inspiration. Available now on iTunes.
Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm Michael Strange. Let us continue, shall we? Okay, so now what we're talking about here is, of course, that phantom limb syndrome. Let me read you just a little bit of this so we're all on the same page as we go. After an amputation, it takes some time for your body and mind to adjust. And this is the old version of this without the new findings. Many patients report both residual limb pain and phantom pain in the limb they've lost. Though we can't explain exactly how phantom limb syndrome works, it's thought to have involved mixed or interrupted signals between the brain and the nerves in the affected limb. And phantom limb syndrome affects 60 to 80% of amputees, often causing severe pain and discomfort. Fortunately, there are some rehabilitative therapies and treatments that can help improve symptoms while you heal. This will be in the description. It is by abilitykc.org, which seems to be an advocacy outreach program, and of course a knowledge base of this type of actual rehabilitation, which is super cool. Okay, but you get the idea. We started with this bizarre part of the brain really seems to be locked into this map, this sort of the lost limbs control map, as if it doesn't want to let it go, or as if it doesn't really matter if it's there or not. It's still controlling, dare we suggest, the soul version of your arm or the ethereal version of your arm, or who knows? Like, what the hell's really going on with this, and how weird does it get? I got lots of wild questions to ask you, of course, as we go, and lots of wild theories as part of this. But what do you know about it? And is there anything in maybe pop culture that we're missing here? Because I didn't kind of dig into that. I'll get into some more of this stuff. Actually, let me read this real quick because this is important as part of it. So we talked about the Egyptian ka. Okay. Well, there's also a Hindu tradition and called Sukshma Sharira. Sorry if I butchered that. I probably did. It's SUKSHMA SHARIRA, or known as the translation subtle body, which preserves the premise precise anatomical structure of a person, regardless of physical changes. The subtle body was said to maintain all sensory and motor functions as a kind of energetic template. The stability of brain maps after amputation validates this ancient understanding. The cortex shows no reorganization or remapping, suggesting that consciousness holds a permanent blueprint of the body that exists independently of physical form, which is the spooky part, right? And again, this persists for years. And as you saw, there's some actual physical therapy that can kind of help this sort of thing. And maybe as we learn more about the science of this, maybe can actually sort of bridge the gap between that cortical plasticity, as we were saying. Anyway, so cultures worldwide have practiced astral projection. Now listen to this, describing how consciousness can separate from the physical body while maintaining complete control over limbs and senses. Shamanic traditions, Tibetan dream yoga, and various mystical schools all report the ability to experience detailed bodily sensations and movements during out-of-body states. The phantom limb findings demonstrate that this is neurologically possible. If the brain can generate complete limb awareness without any physical limb present, it suggests consciousness operates through mechanisms that transcend ordinary neural pathways. And we'll leave it there. That's straight from the write-up. Like I said, it is very good. Check it out if you're into it, if you want more information here. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, as usual, because that's what this is all about. What do you know about it? And how weird is it? And do you think this does have something to do with the soul, or something to do with some ethereal lattice kind of beneath or operating with or beneath the substrate of our physical form? Love to hear what you think. 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. We'll put you on the show. Just like this, let's go to James in Michigan. Salcedo Paranormal, how are you, sir? Welcome to the joint, and go right ahead.
I'm okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Coming through loud and clear.
Good. This is an amazing topic in that there's a book, I mentioned it in the general chat in the Discord earlier, a novel from Stephen King, because those that know me know I'm a huge Stephen King fan. And it's about someone who was involved and terribly injured in an accident at a construction site and lost an arm to this accident. And now a key thing about this in this story is that prior to this event, this was a you would say like an ordinary person, had no connection to anything unexplained, unusual, paranormal, supernatural, none of that. But after this happened, he started having experiences where he not only did he feel his arm, or feel like he felt his arm, there were a few instances when he was in an extreme situation, extreme fear, extreme any kind of emotions where he would see the missing arm, and even in a couple of cases be able to manipulate physical objects with it, even though it wasn't physically there. And that's just one part of that story. But I really thought that was amazing, this topic tonight, in that this is a fairly popular book for Stephen King fans. I think it was turned into a movie or a TV series. I'm not totally sure on that because I don't follow that. But that's just where that story begins. And he ends up having these abilities to draw and paint things and situations into existence or out of it in the story, using at times this missing arm and or the energy where his arm was at to sort of channel and to see other things in other places and memories from other people even at some points. So this is amazing to have this topic in a real world sense from these scientific papers, but then you also have this example of this in popular fiction.
Yeah, that Stephen King, that wily, creative guy. I just wish he'd stay away from politics. That guy's just like a train wreck. He's like a binary. Don't follow him on X. You want to punch your face out.
It's terrible.
It is beyond terrible, beyond terrible. Anyway, but he's a good writer. Again, well regarded, multiple bestsellers, all the rest of it. But I think that's incredibly creative what you're describing there. Again, written by Stephen King. is that you're able to sort of manipulate reality with that phantom limb. And that phantom limb, of course, is because it's operating on a different level of reality itself. Now, as usual, now let's think about this in sort of the, quasi troubled minded abstract term of that, would be that your mind is actually sort of operating in that space with that phantom limb all the time anyway. It just has merged because you have the physical limb and the phantom limb. And so you can manipulate this reality by painting something here, or, by punching the wall and hurting yourself. Don't do that. I don't recommend that. Or, creating something wonderful, as we say, with playing a guitar or painting, as I described, all manner of things. However, there's the weirdness to it where the other part is you're maybe manipulating a different reality as part of this the weird structure. I don't know. That's an amazing thought there. I'd never heard of this book, and I'm glad you brought it up. What else you got? Go ahead.
Yeah, it's a great book. There's so much to go into with that book, but he's able to touch pictures and or photographs, and almost like a form of psychometry in a way. The idea of being able to touch objects with your hands and your fingers and get energy and memories from them. But he was able to do this with this arm that wasn't there and get information from, no one really knows where, even in this fictional story, but so often you hear about that when people do these things, they get information from, it's possibly the consciousness of a person from before, or from the bits of themselves, energy-wise, so to speak, their memories that are embedded in the material. But he's able to do this with objects, and it sort of is a part of the book. But yeah, so and it's quite the story. It starts off with him because he gets this ability. Now, this is the other part of this novel. When he gets this ability, he also draws the attention of, you can almost say, this otherworldly being that tries to use him for various basically negative purposes, and of course that's where the action or the drama of the story takes place. But even at the end of that story, he still, after dealing with everything he goes through, he still has that ability. So it's not just this other being interacting with him. He has these abilities still. And so, yeah, I just wonder about that. I wonder about the out-of-body connection, just because I've had so many experiences with that myself, to where I was able to still sense and feel things and see things. Interestingly enough, in a way, when I have, and we've talked about this before, when I have out-of-body experiences or weird dream experiences, paranormal dream experiences, my vision is always the same there as it is here, which I'm legally blind. So I wonder, and this is sort of going kind of connected to this idea, is that because I was born legally blind? Is that why that happens? It happens that way? Because I've heard people say that have lost their vision, that when they have these out-of-body experiences or dreams or however you want to call them, they do have better vision in those experiences. So is this whole phantom limb or phantom, any body part really, is this connected to the entire body? I guess is the question I have about this.
Yeah, with and how the brain reacts to it, and I think that's the wild part of this, is because there's so much in play here that this fits in sort of the morphic resonance field of Rupert Sheldrake and some other really old wild esoteric ideas, like we said, the Ka and some other ones that make a ton of sense in terms of just the human soul itself. Again, and if you don't believe in the soul, that's okay. Like I said, a lot of this is semantics. If you do, cool, we can talk about it in that framework. If not, we can talk about it in terms of sort of human energy or, something like that. And does it persist after we pass on? And so there's a lot in play. Like I said, and it always bothered me as part of these conversations that people couldn't kind of untangle those things and say, okay, look, we're talking about the same thing. Does it matter what we really call it? And should we argue about what it is called? I mean, anyway, just a little Michael Strange commentary about lots of things happening with the human body that is as yet discovered. And you would expect that with all the science that has been done on humans forever, basically, as long as science has been around, it's one of the first things we experimented on, at least in the modern biological sense, of course. But there's still mysteries of the human body that we cannot explain in 2025. And some of them are downright spooky as hell, which this is another one, that phantom limb hypothesis. Or, I'm sorry, it's called phantom limb, what's it called? Phantom limb syndrome. Sorry. Yeah, not hypothesis. My bad on that. Yeah, sorry about that. I get a little weird with my hypotheses. Anyway, so that's where we're at tonight. Appreciate you, James. You're welcome to sit if you, however you're feeling tonight. You feeling good? Good enough too? What's going on?
Yes, happy to sit in because I think this does touch on a lot of things that I've read into before. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. We'll be right back. More with James Salcedo, of course, the paranormal expert of Troubled Minds, and your calls as well. We got Joe in Florida coming up. We got Daryl in New York and Robert in Pennsylvania, and your calls as well. What do you know about it? There's a lot in play here, and it goes back to one simple question. Do you believe in the human soul? 702-957-1037. This is Troubled Minds. I'm Michael Strange. Be right back. More on the way.
Expanse, maps of us unfold, a holographic dance, stories yet untold. Consciousness, it flows. Blueprints of our souls. Consciousness, it flows. Blueprints of our souls. Consciousness, it flows. Blueprints of our souls.
Yeah, right. Little new wave for you. What's going on, guys? Thank you, James. We'll talk to you more momentarily. Daryl, we got Ricky Gaston. What's up, Eric? Chef Pete says he was going to fall asleep. Hopefully we can give you some ASMR when you fall asleep. What's up, Joe in Florida? We got him coming up next. Don, Sonia, we got Jeff. What's up, the Robert? Roving Fungus, Herschel, and Jorge. I see you guys. Hope you're well tonight. Over to Rumble. What's up to the top? Wow, lots of chat over there already. What's up, Raz Gorda? What's going on, guys? Hope you're well. It's Hiker. What's happening? We've got YY is here. Margie, good evening. Hello. If I missed anybody as we go, just say hello and I'll say hi back and do my best to keep up and keep it a social stream as we do this thing. What we got time-wise? We're good. Hello. Gorda was here. Good evening. What's happening, folks? Yeah. Hi. My mom, who did I miss? I think we're good. Puff is here. Good evening, Puff. I see you. Okay, over to YouTube. Good evening. Lots of folks on YouTube as well. What's going on? I think we got Fred was first. Of course, you as usual. Ioxy, you got second. What's up, Max Vision Remote Viewing? We got Esoteric Alchemist. That's a funny joke. What's up, Mr. Mission Control? How you doing? Good evening, guys. What is going on? I hope you are well tonight. You know that Kit guy? No, bro. Top 2.5% in the world. Streaming to nobody. You can kiss my ass. How about that? What is up? So much, Jake. I see you there, buddy. Good evening, guys. Good evening, guys. All right, let's go. Troubled Minds happening now. If I missed anybody, just say hi and I'll say hi back as we go. And I hope you are doing well tonight. We're talking phantom limb syndrome and the new study about it. Here we go. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We're streaming on YouTube, Rumble, X, Twitch, and Kick. We are broadcasting live on the Troubled Minds Radio Network. That's KUAP Digital Broadcasting. And of course, 88.4 FM Auckland, New Zealand on the Underground Media Network. Tonight, we're taking your calls as we discuss this. If the brain preserves perfect maps of limbs that no longer exist, what else might be stored in the hidden architecture of consciousness? Could phantom sensations, morphic templates, and holographic body fields point to an unseen design where nothing of the self is ever truly lost? Or are we glimpsing evidence that awareness itself exists beyond the boundaries of matter? And that's very Troubled Mindsy. And of course, welcome to Troubled Minds. Lots of things in play here as usual. Like I said, if you're interested in the write-up, I do recommend you check it out. It talks about all kinds of this stuff, the ancient Egyptian conception of the soul, the Ka, all this stuff that really kind of plays into these ideas, including, of course, the modern version of very simply the human soul. It's complicated. And it's wide and varied, and all the things that go with it that go all the way back thousands of years to all different traditions all over the world. What do you know about it? And what about this bizarre study talking about actually the brain sort of retaining the lost limbs control map years after the limb is gone? Again, flies in the face of modern neuroscience consensus of that cortical plasticity, I believe it's called. Love to hear what you think. 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. We're going to go to the phone line. Joe in Florida. I know we've had some issues with the phone line, so I may have to route this real quick. So on the Discord, please let me know if you can hear him. And if not, I'll fix it real quick. But here we go. Joe in Florida. Thanks for being patient, my man. You're on Troubled Minds. How are you, sir? All yours. Go right ahead.
I'm okay. Can you hear me okay?
I hear you loud and clear. You're going out to the stream perfectly and well. Let me fix the Discord if they say they can hear or not. But anyway, you're good. I'll worry about that. You worry about you. Go ahead, sir.
One evening, I got to test out the microphone and the headsets again because I reset everything to you, and it seemed to be working, but I don't want to live test it while you've got a show. But when you mentioned the Ka and all of that, I remember things like that when I was a kid. I don't remember how, but whatever. What popped in my head immediately, I put it in the chat, is quantum entanglement. In some kind of way to describe that is we don't know where our consciousness is stored. And first of all, different perspective, but it's, different perspectives on how to look at this. But one of them would be if we don't know where the consciousness is stored and we're just walking meat puppets. And wherever our conscience lies, whether there's a ghost body, a spirit, or a program, or whatever it is, that's still sending out a signal, and it's still mapped like that in our brain, and we just don't have the joint or the limbs to function. So you can look at it that way. Then part of me starts to wonder if we've all heard of this organ donation. I had a friend of mine that worked with organ donation, but anyway, works with them. But it's been said that certain people who have been recipients of transplants start to maybe get cravings for certain foods or maybe certain habits that the organ donor that's passed away used to have. So there's like these shadow cravings. So that makes you think about genetic memory, which we've talked about on the show, right? If it's down to the genetic memory, or if the genetic memory is part of the feedback loop that goes to our conscience that's sitting somewhere in the quantum state. You can look at it that way. Also look at a robot. If a robot lost its limb, the actuators, the stepper motors, all the gear up to the point of the lost limb, it would still function if you're giving it commands. The gears would spin, everything would still spin. It's just that it would stop. And that limb would be missing. However, with the robot, if it's programmed to have a feedback loop, maybe it would shut that system down to conserve power. Which gets me into another idea of if we're born with all of these things, somebody said that it's just wired in. We're born with everything wired in. And that could be totally true. But let's just look at other animals that have very, very long lifespans that maybe are able to regenerate limbs. Maybe. And when you look at the Bible, they used to say that some people can live, I don't know who the heck was in the Bible, whatever, Noah, whatever, 500 years, 1,000 years, supposedly in these stories, that humans, metahumans, whatever you want to call them, they were able to live beyond the normal lifespan that we're used to now. Now, I don't think in the book it mentioned anybody losing limbs or anything, but let's just say that was part of it. Let's just say in general, there's a gene that we have that just lets us regenerate. Now, whether that regenerates just our cells and our, I forget what they call it, the hairs on our cells that shrink or get longer, we've talked about that before. But let's just say there's an overall button or gene that slows down the aging process, or maybe doesn't slow it down, but just regenerates us at a more constant rate. And part of that gene is also regenerating any major loss of a limb. And we've seen this in the animal world, lizards and things like that. Let's just say that our genetic manipulators, or if it just genetically happened in evolution, whatever you want to believe, but let's just say that was turned off for one reason or another. Because God knows if we live 200 years or 300 years, would humanity still be here? Because we probably would have put a drain on the resources a long time ago, if that makes sense.
It makes sense. I wonder, too, let's say that we could live thousands of years, and let's say there was a way to sort of make that happen through gene expression as you're describing. I do wonder if, sort of in the past when things were just so violent. I mean, you can make the argument now that when you watch social media, there's violence everywhere, Mike, but then also go walk out your front door and then report back to me and we'll talk about violence on your front door. That's probably not there, just as an example. But I do wonder if, even if we could, it would have been sort of largely moot because of that age-old sort of might makes right versions of ourselves. And so maybe, the R versus K selection theory of, maybe live shorter, reproduce faster, and maybe it is part of that gene expression of what the modern human is, but not necessarily the end all of what we could become. That makes some sense to me as well as what you just described there.
Yeah. I mean, we're constantly trying. We're constantly trying to be immortal. And, somebody put in there the dust and the electrostatic fields, and I just kind of started thinking about not that I subscribe to 5G, but that 5G conspiracy, however, in that extreme, however, the body carries a current. And we know that you could say some people, they could say just being on a cell phone like I am, but electromagnetic fields do affect us. There's even rumors, and I've got an EV, I haven't experienced it yet, but I've seen people say that if they sit in their EV or if they sit in an EV too long, that whatever field is there, disorients them. That, I haven't dove into that rabbit hole, because I think if it was totally true, you'd see more warnings about that. But I had seen that come out here and there, But that's all. I mean, there's other people on the line. I just kind of wrote some notes real quick. I mean, who I think we could ask, and probably a lot of people in this crowd are too young to remember. But do you remember Lorena Bobbitt and what she did to her husband, John?
Unfortunately, I do. It still gives me nightmares.
It just give you nightmares, but I wonder if he had phantom limb. I wonder if he did. And I'll leave you with that one.
Of course you would, Joe. You're the best. Appreciate the call. Thanks for staying up late with us. Have a great night.
I'm going to take a cold shower right now.
yeah. There you go. Take care. Joe in Florida, good friend for a long time. And if you remember the Lorena Bobbitt story, she cut off the nether region, singular of her male counterpart. So yeah, if anything will give you nightmares as a dude, that will. In any case, funny thing there. Phantom limb was the joke, and I wonder, phantom pain probably. Anyway, so we're talking the Ghost Body Network today. I'm calling it Neuroscience Meets Ancient Knowledge, and we started with this fantastic study. Again, phantom limb study rewires our understanding of the brain, because we're supposed to have what's called this cortical elasticity, which means that when our amputation, let's say we lose a limb or whatever, our brain will sort of adapt to that and no longer fire off commands to move the limb. Well, the new study suggests that's not true at all. And it kind of is looking at the different ways we consider what this cortical elasticity actually even means anymore. Because again, they did this study and they found that 3 months, 6 months, and even up to 1.5 and more years afterward, the brain was still firing thoughts to move this limb that had been gone for years plus at this point. So what does that mean? And is there sort of that Egyptian version of this? I'm going to point this out real quick too. I misspoke. So there's an ancient Egyptian conception of the soul. And there's a bunch of this, right? The Ket is the physical body. The Sa is the spiritual body. Ren is name or identity. That's name magic. We've talked about that in the past. Ba is the personality. Ka is what we're talking about tonight, is the double or vital essence. Now, think of an amputation and think of that phantom limb actual situation where you get pain or you feel like it's still there, okay? Well, in that particular case, that double or that vital essence seems as if there's a mirror effect of where that limb would be or could be anyway. So like I said, squint your eyes and think of it in sort of the thousands of years perspective here. And it feels as if they knew something about this long before we did and even had a name for it. So what does it mean? And a lot of things in play here, a lot of ideas in my mind, but what do you think? That's what I want to know. And just to finish this out, so the IB, the Ib or Ib was the heart, the Shuyet was the shadow, and the Sek-Em was the power or form. And this is the different actual ancient Egyptian conceptions of the soul, different breakdowns of what it is. But the Ka is the double or the vital essence, which really makes some sense here in terms of the amputations. James, anything on that? And we'll go to Daryl and then the Robert after that. Thanks for being patient, friends.
No problem. Great call from Joe. He just reminded me too of more comic book stuff. I put it in the chat there. There was this character in Marvel that his name was Dr. Kurt Connors. And he had an injury. I don't know exactly how it happened, but he had his arm was amputated. And he started working on ways to grow it back. And of course, in science fiction, what happens is he figures it out, but he ends up turning into a giant lizard-like creature. And he gets the arm back, but he loses his personality when he's in that form. And so, just more references here to similar things here. But yeah, and I find that amazing, all the different aspects of the person from Egyptian thoughts and ideas and everything and their beliefs. That's amazing that there's so many parts. It's not just like one, consciousness is not just one thing. So I find that fascinating as well.
Yeah, well said, all that. It's this is, as usual, look, it's complicated. And I think the most basic way to look at it is that lattice of sort of the spiritual energy or the actual regular energy. I mean, we're sort of what golems with the energetic just energy sort of moving our limbs and our brains and everything else together. So I don't know. It's a weird one to me, but also as this science develops, I wonder if you can maybe, as Joe suggested, switch these gene expressions on and off and maybe regrow limbs as you're describing as well. And that's the type of thing that kind of makes you go, well, I wonder, right? We've seen the lizards grow back their tails, right, as part of that evolutionary adaptation. And we used to have a tail, vestigial tail, we're told. I'm not sure if you believe that or not. And I'm not expecting you to believe it or disbelieve it. I'm saying it's something that has been said in the past. But yeah, wild stuff, James, and on fire as usual. And I didn't realize too, by the way, there's so many comic references and fiction references as part of this. or I would have pinged Perplexity to kind of spit out some of that stuff too. But glad we have James here on point and knowing the things that the rest of us do not know. You're the best, James. Hang tight. We'll get back to you momentarily. And you know where to find him, of course. Salcedo Paranormal. That's where you find him. SalcedoParanormal.com. The paranormal expert of troubled minds, and go give him a follow on all the places. Check out his books, check out his podcast, check out his website, check out his Discord, all the things, and come say hi. He's a great dude, as you know. Let's go to 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. Let's go to Daryl in New York. Thanks for being patient, my friend. How are you tonight? Welcome to Troubled Minds, and it is all yours. Welcome to the thing.
Hi, Michael. I was thinking, it's so funny. I was thinking the same thing that Joe from Florida was thinking about Lorena Bobbitt's husband. And I wound up looking up some information. You're not going to believe this. I have to tell you what happened. What happened to him after he had his penis cut off. He wound up had a short career in the porn industry, and he was a recurring guest on the Howard Stern show.
Stop it. No, is that for real? Or is that seemed like a Daryl joke? That's for real? That's for real?
No, it's true. I'm not kidding. Then he revealed he was diagnosed with toxic peripheral polyneuropathy, a condition linked to his time at Camp Lejeune that was in North Carolina, where the water was very contaminated. You know about Camp Lejeune, right?
Yeah, I've seen the commercials.
He had both. You're not going to believe this. He had both nerve damage and osteomyelitis, a bone infection that leads to ulcers and requires skin grafts. In 2023, he had his remaining toes amputated, which he said left him unable to work. Can you believe that? Poor guy. He should be on the show. I wonder if he feels his toes. Yes. And I wonder what happened. Did he feel his, missing penis? That's crazy.
Yes. Like I said, nightmare fuel right there. I just didn't want to say the word, but you said it, so the genie's out of the bottle. It's all fine.
I could have said something else, but I was wondering, but we've we've had I've had missing teeth, and I felt pain in the missing teeth. Those are like amputations when you get your teeth pulled, I didn't feel anything when, I don't miss my tonsils. They were amputated. And I wonder, sometimes a bad haircut could really, ruin your month,
Easy. Easy.
You know what I'm saying,
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
But I'm just saying, we get, I want your nails, your hair, your, we have some amputations that you do miss your hair. I'm sure, if you have long hair and you cut it. But I've heard, that people that have missing limbs feel pain in their missing limb that's not there.
Yeah, that's that phantom limb syndrome. Yeah, exactly. And yeah, it's incredibly weird. And so now we're seeing sort of the correlation between the brain doesn't ever really kind of miss it. It keeps firing the commands that come from the brain and doesn't do that, the cortical elasticity as we're describing, or plasticity, because maybe there is sort of that underlying aspect of the energy body still there, the cause we're describing from the Egyptian space. Why not, right?
Right. I read something in your Substack that was very disturbing. It mentioned some culture, I think it was in India, that they dismember their bodies so that they could be reunited in their afterlife or in their next life. Did you write that?
Yes. Hold on. Let me find it. Let me find
Isn't
it so I
that
get
crazy?
it right.
Like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Who gets dismembered? I hope it's after they're dead, Yeah, I would assume, of course, but why? What kind of cultural, ritual is that? A dismemberment of the dead? Where did I put your Substack message?
I'm trying to find it. I got you. I'll find it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I found that very disturbing. That's really disturbing. And what? I don't know. Maybe they do it for easier burial. I don't know. If they don't need a large sarcophagus or whatever they use.
Yeah, well, that's been a thing too historically, where they kind of trim them up and put them in small burial chambers, which is not the best. But I mean, yeah, I'm trying to find this. There's so many things in here. Hold on.
Pretty gruesome. Very gruesome. Where did I put it? Put it all.
I got it.
I think I found it. Wait.
I'll find it. Anyway, if you got to go ahead. But yeah, another thing too, as part of this is that like Joe was describing there, that not just the pain that kind of comes with it, but the fact that the limb still exists kind of in your mind. And some of the people even describe it, which is in the Substack as well, describe that, if they lose a limb when they're young, it still seems to grow proportionally with sort of their adult body, even though, let's say they lost an arm at like 5, tragically, obviously. But as they grow, that proportion still stays, as if that sort of light body grows with you, which is incredible to think, because or maybe your brain has anticipated the growth of it. I don't know, a lot of ways to look at that. I'm still looking for the thing you described there. But
wait a second. Maybe I'm trying. Indigenous traditions. Wait, is that it? No. What did I hear about this 3-legged dog? Oh, he had a prosthesis, and I forget what happened. He lost his prosthesis. I guess they called it a faux paw.
There's a Daryl joke. There we go. Now we're cooking with gas. Hey, I had no idea that Lorena Bobbitt joke was not a joke. That is horrifying.
Yeah. Terrible. But do you believe it? He had his toes also amputated. This poor guy. What a lifetime of really, serious missing things. I don't know, but maybe he's used to it by now. I don't know. No, I don't think.
Let's hope you never get used to something like that. Absolutely.
It could have been worse, right? It could have been worse. I'm sure his doctor said. But where did that article go?
I'll find it. I'll find it and bring it up. Yeah, this is a deep one, and I did so much. I have like 60 links on this, so I'm trying to find exactly where that came from. But when I find it, I'll dig it out and we'll talk about it. Or if you find it, let me know, and I'll
try to find it. I'll post it. Yeah, that's really garish, But I had 2 more things to mention.
Sure.
I was arguing with one of these flat earthers that was also an amputee. You ever talk to a flat earther? Well, he didn't have a leg to stand on, Anyway, that's a terrible.
Terrible. But he actually he was an arm amputee, so but still didn't have a leg to stand on.
He was unarmed. I don't know. That's why they don't rob banks. Let's see. Well, you can't really. They have a good sense of humor about their issues. This is in terrible taste. So, that's right. Some people do have. I know this for sure. They have a fetish about things that amputations. They like to see women without get their hair cut or stuff like that, or amputees. And you could find them on this app. It's called StubHub. Can you believe that?
Terrible. Talking about in poor taste needs to be a T-shirt. Troubled Minds.
Totally
in poor taste.
There can't be anything in poor taste. But I figured a flat earther could be make a little fun of them. Just a little.
Take the shot. Hey, people make fun of us too, so it's all fine. It's all square. It's all good. It's all good.
Right?
You were the best. Appreciate the call. Unless you have anything else.
Thank you. No. I'm looking forward to hearing the rest of the show.
Fire as always. You were the best. Thank you so much. That's Daryl in New York. You love her. Been a good friend for a long time. And of course, the Cosmic Comic of Troubled Minds, the official Cosmic Comic for obvious reasons, but also talented young lady. You can find her singing karaoke on Troubled Minds on the Discord. If you haven't done that yet, do check out her YouTube channel. You can find that very easily at troubledminds.org/friends. Just scroll down. It's alphabetical, as I always say. And just click on Daryl right there. It'll take you right to her YouTube channel. There's some stuff on Morgellons, some paranormal stuff, and of course, lots of footage and great stuff of her singing in both English and French. Very talented young lady, as I said. And come join the Discord, meet Daryl. She's every bit and more as amazing as she seems. Like I said, and all the people that contribute to the show are, by the way, like I said, the bad part is I cut them off and I, ask kind of dumb radio questions a lot of the time and whatever, right? But for the sake of the show style conversation. But these people, I'm telling you, these people are incredible. Please come meet them. Daryl chief among them, because of course she's been a good friend for a long time. And if you like karaoke, come sing karaoke with her. She shares those links and is of course go, please do that. Go hang out and listen to the karaoke. And if you like to sing, you're welcome to just listen, or of course, sing along and kind of do the rotation stuff that they do with the karaoke, which is incredible. I've done it, and it is very cool. And there's a lot of really talented people that are doing that as well. So yeah, go check that out. And sorry, trying to fix the camera. I'll fix that during the break. But yeah, so that's what's on my mind tonight. All this stuff, great jokes by Daryl as usual. And we're talking to the ghost. I'm calling this the Ghost Body Network. Now we'll get to what that means, because it is really part of this larger context of the soul, right? Or the soul, or the Ka, the Egyptian double, which is a mirror image of ourselves, of our physical body, but instead it's some sort of energetic aspect. And does it answer not just the question of this phantom limb syndrome, but this other bizarre study that just came out talking about how our brain does not rewire with that cortical plasticity. I keep trying to get the terms right, of exactly what this means. And so I don't know. As usual, look, no answers for me, just more questions as part of it. But love to hear your thoughts if you want to be part of the conversation tonight. 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. This is Troubled Minds. I'm Michael Strange. More with James coming up. We got the Robert in Pennsylvania and your calls as well. Don't go anywhere. Be right back.
In a cryogenic slumber, lost in the lunar night, your face a faded number among the stars so bright. Dreams of forgotten echoes, waiting for time's command. Curtains of gray and sorrow, the lonely lunar sand. Below the moonlit sky, of the love we try, silent by your brains and souls reside, suspended in a story, kept in the cold dark tide. Our futures in the making, silver-edged domain, hearts kept in silent aching, till we meet once again. We are awake below the moonlit sky, to the fragments of the love we try. Frozen time we're resting, waiting for dawn's embrace. Whispers of love confessing in this forgotten place. We are awake below the moonlit sky, to the fragments of the love we try. Across the astral sea, and the fires of hope still burning for when we finally breathe free.
Fixing tech issues on the fly is much harder when you don't have a team doing it. What's up, guys? Hope you're well tonight. If I seem distracted in three or four different ways, that's what's happening. This breaks and that breaks, and then the other thing, and I'm trying to find this and trying to find that. Anyway, there is no Jamie here as part of the Joe Rogan experience. There's me, and so I have to push all the buttons. Anyway, thanks for bearing with me and understanding. What's up, Ricky, Gaston, Eric, APOC, how you doing? And we got that Chef Pete, Sonia, Michael W, the Roberts coming up next. We got Roving Fungus, Joe, thanks for the call. Don, Jorge, and also Daryl, thanks for the call. Appreciate you very much. Great stuff as always. Love the jokes. It's funny that the one you started out with seemed like the joke, and it wasn't a joke. It was just the horrific truth. Ooh, sometimes life is worse than jokes themselves. Who did I miss? If I missed anybody, just say hi in the chat and I will say hi back. What's up, Max Vision, Mr. Control? James is there in the YouTube chat as well. Ioxy, good evening, guys. So much. Jake, how you doing, buddy? And yeah, if I missed anybody, like I said, just say hi. I'll say hi back. And thanks for understanding. It is like I said, it always looks easier on TV than it actually is. But anyway, thanks for the repost there to Joey Don't Panic. That's Jill, Doku, our friend, and Sylvain out there in France. Here we go. Trouble Wine's happening now. We got the Robert, more from James on your calls as well. Here we go. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We're streaming on YouTube, Rumble, X, Twitch, and Kick. We're broadcasting live on the Troubled Minds Radio Network. That's KUAP Digital Broadcasting. And, of course, 88.4 FM, Auckland, New Zealand. Tonight, we're talking about this new study, the phantom limb study that rewires our understanding of the brain. This is from August 21st, so this is brand spanking new, and it's going out to peer review and all the rest of that stuff, of course. But it really begs the question of not just, let's say, the energetic output of humans and maybe the mirroring of the Ka, or the double version of the Egyptian soul. Well, maybe there's something more to this, and maybe that I don't know, maybe gene expressions, we can maybe regrow some of these limbs with who knows, all kinds of stuff. But I want to make sure I get this right. So like I said, the Ka in the ancient Egyptian conception of the soul, and this is from Wikipedia, so bear with me on that. It is the double or the vital essence, meaning, again, so if you lose your physical arm, it still should exist in the sense of the Ka in that arm space, okay? And so that's what we're talking about tonight in terms of this this weird study that just came out, where the brain retains lost limbs control map defying plasticity theories, which, and I know you've heard this, heard recently in the last 5 to 10 years that all the rage in neuroscience is plasticity. Yeah, neuroplasticity, right? It's what Blossom from what's her face from what's her name? I can't Biolek, whatever her name is. Anyway, from Blossom, she's now a neuroscientist, and she's doing commercials about this stuff and talking about it all the time. But I do wonder what the hell this looks like, and if there is some sort of underlying lattice of our substructure that does persist beyond the physical, which of course just is a fancy way of saying, is there a human soul? 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. Before we go to the Robert, James, anything to add to that? And then we'll go to our friend the Robert.
Yeah, just great calls from Daryl and Joe. I also, now I don't know if anyone else has heard of this before. I've heard of accounts of people seeing apparitions of just hands or feet in places. Sometimes moving, sometimes not, just staying still. But I wonder, so if we do have this other energetic form, can it also be broken, or can it not? And if it can't, then what are these other things that people see occasionally, where it's the cases of parts of bodies? And I'm not talking anything gory or graphic. I'm just saying, literally, almost like the rest of my body is invisible. But is it, or are those just the energetic remains, in a way, of people that have maybe moved on?
Yeah, which is very down your lane of these ideas, that paranormal stuff. It's like, okay, so how much of that energy after somebody passes remains, and how much of that becomes residual human energy, as I like to describe it, in terms of hauntings or spirits lingering, or sort of even maybe merges with sort of what's it called? The Gaia hypothesis, these primordial nature spirits. Maybe they are sort of our ancestral spirits, just kind of hanging out. Maybe that some of that energy remains in some capacity, and maybe it's what we're dealing with all the stuff we can't explain. I don't know. It's complicated as usual, at least idea wise. Of course, the materialist would say this is nonsense. There's no such thing as a human soul. But the fundamentalist might say, religious fundamentalist might say, well, yeah, clearly there's obviously a human soul, and there's something to do with what we're talking about tonight. And so that becomes the question. And as usual, you guys decide. I'm not the arbiter of that truth. As I always say, this stuff is way above my pay grade, and that's a fact. But what do you know about it? Anything to add there, James? And we'll go to Robert.
Yeah, I think going back to what you said earlier, too, about words and the labels we put on things, I think we have to focus on describing things and maybe see how that goes and what connections we can make to things. And because if we just try to name things by one word or two words, I think that can easily be confusing. But also, it's hard to not use just single words or two words to describe things. So it's a double-edged sword as well.
Yeah, we need to be succinct, but also things are complicated, as I always say, which is why this is a long-form talk show, and we don't do a 30-second TikTok. I mean, you want to see me TikTok and shake? Okay, whatever. Go check out the TikTok. Anyway, 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. We'll put you on the show. Thanks for being patient, friends. Let's go to the Robert in Pennsylvania. What's up, my man? You're on Troubled Minds. How are you, sir? All yours. Go right ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. You sound great. Loud and clear.
Okay. Well, piggybacking off of Daryl reminds me of an old when I was a kid playing baseball and stuff. We had a running joke on my team. Little David goes to Mrs. Ramsey's house and knocks on the door, and Mrs. Ramsey opens the door and David says, Mrs. Ramsey, can Johnny come out and play baseball with us? And she says, well, you know Donnie doesn't have any arms and legs. Oh, that's okay, Mrs. Ramsey. We just want to use him for second base.
Damn it, Robert. Can we stop picking on the amputees? Come on, man. My goodness gracious.
I know, that's a horrible joke, but we were kids when we...
Okay, all right. Okay, you're forgiven this one time, but don't get out of hand here.
Okay. Also, what Daryl was saying about that Bobbitt fella, and she's correct. He did go into pornography. Did a few pornography films. And in an interview with one of his female co-stars, was asked about, his member, and she called it Frankenweenie.
Ooh. Another one? Ooh. Why?
No, that's true. She did. She called it. She said it was Frankenweenie.
Okay. All right. I'd never heard that, nor do I want to hear it again. That sounds horrific.
Well, I followed, being a married man, I followed that story intensely when that was breaking back then.
All that.
You never know. You never know. They go off the rocker, and next thing you know, you're Frankenweenie number 2.
Let's hope not. Let's definitely hope not. What do you got regarding this other stuff? Stop picking on the poor amputees, my man. You're killing me.
Okay. I was thinking about another thing. I think it was Joe, or maybe it was Daryl. I think Daryl's talking about how several animals possess the ability to regenerate their limbs. They can regrow lost body parts. Some examples of that are like starfish, salamanders, some lizards. And there's even certain flatworms that can regenerate their entire bodies from fragments.
Yeah, like you cut them into pieces and they just grow into like 5, right? Five different ones or whatever.
Yeah. And I'm thinking to myself, let's say take the salamander, right? Let's say he loses a leg. and that leg's going to come back. It's going to regenerate. But the difference between a salamander and a human being is that the salamander doesn't have a surgeon who's going to pack that, wound and sew it off. All right, so so it can't grow. And I'm thinking, when you're on the subject that you've got here about the brain, still recognizing that there's a limb there and sending signals to that missing limb, that had if the surgeons wouldn't cauterize the wound and then stitch it all up, maybe. And just left it alone, just over time, the brain's signaling to that arm. That's not just signaling that it seems to still see the arm, it's sending signals there to regenerate that arm.
Yeah, which is, I'm pretty sure, look, that this is this goes back to the primordial space of the salamander and the tail, but I do wonder if that gene expression would be able to do that for us, and eventually we're going to be able to do this. I believe so, but what's it going to take? I think in terms of the medical profession, and is it ethically viable to do these types of things? I mean, look, I don't know. I mean, clearly it would be a miracle, but where we're heading, I don't even know if they want to pursue this, because what's quite a bit easier is to just whip you up a robotic leg or whatever, right? And then the transhumanist future, here we come.
Yeah, but robotic leg is not the same as a flesh and blood, arm. And I'm trying to make myself clear here what I'm thinking, because I think I might have had a little bit too much maybe juice, but I'm thinking that maybe we do it all wrong. Maybe the surgeons should take precautions to make sure there's no infection, that sort of stuff, but leave the doggone thing alone, that the brain is sending a signal. And once they have it all sewed up, all cauterized and all sewed up, there's no way, no brain can send all the signals it wants to. It's not going to regenerate. But if they leave it alone, maybe that's what the brain's trying to do.
Yeah, maybe. As usual, like the brain is one of those things. It's a great mystery, even in 2025. And like I've said in the past too, me, I kind of lean that UFOs, and we've said this before. Shout out B out there on Twitter X, that to me UFOs are probably more Carl Jung than Carl Sagan. And so again, define that however you like, but I think we're still dealing with this the depth of the human mind that seems to be endless, at least in terms of things and ideas and psychoses and just trauma. And there's just so much with it that I don't know if we'll ever really be able to sort of unravel it scientifically to the end of itself. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and a philosophy of mine is for as long as I can remember is something I read somewhere years ago. Where the mind goes, the body must follow. Right, and if the mind is signaling a missing arm, signaling that a phantom arm, the body must go with it. The body must regenerate.
Let's hope so. I mean, yeah, we got a long ways to go between here and there, but definitely, absolutely, let's hope so.
What they should do is experiment. They should do an experiment on somebody, not close off the wound to make it impossible, but leave it open and see if over time it starts to regenerate. I don't think they've ever tried that before. Do you?
I would think that was sort of the space before they learned how to cauterize a wound and do tourniquets and the whole bit. I would think that was the initial state. So if that was beneficial, I would guess we'd still be doing it. So I wouldn't say it was a scientific endeavor. I'd say it's probably like ancient wisdom here in this capacity. Anyway, just for my thought.
Let's say it's medieval times, and it's and at night they're the Anglo-Saxons and let's say there's a war going on between Great Britain and Norway or whatever, and a soldier has his arm sliced off. What did they do with that back then? Did they do the same type procedure as modern day surgeons do today, as far as closing off the wound? And
I kind of doubt that. It depends on the time and the space in the world, but I kind of doubt that.
There's plenty of one-armed, one-legged ex-knights, back in those days. Somehow they didn't get infected.
Yeah, honey and cauterization, as you're describing. I think there's some ancient ways to kind of handle that for sure. They go back even to the Egyptians, so and beyond. So, and honey was definitely one of those natural sort of antiseptics that will keep you from getting infected. So, I mean, there were some ways. So I'm with you. I understand what you're saying, but I'm also saying there's some other ways where that probably would have happened, sort of in the natural space. You know, somebody barely surviving or whatever. You know,
would they have sewn the wound up back in those days?
Depends on what, like I said, those days.
Would they put some cloth over it or something? And I just wonder how that. I will have to look and find out how they did that. But it just seems to me that there's everything has a reason to it. If the brain is, and the idea that the brain doesn't recognize that a limb is gone, that's hard for me to really believe. Right, because the brain is the control center of the whole body, and the only thing that makes sense to me is if it's signaling a phantom arm, it's because it's trying to regenerate that arm.
Yeah, I wonder exactly that, and that's a hell of a point. And I think that may be the missing link here as part of our gene expression. Let's say you're able to do that and flip a gene and it does sort of just start regrowing the arm or whatever. Maybe the brain is sort of holding the placeholder space of the limb itself so it knows exactly where to regrow. I love that one. And by the way,
the key to helping the brain is not to let yourself forget that arm. Right, you know, after, like you said earlier, after a year or so, you don't feel that sensation anymore because you become so accustomed. But you help the brain by keeping the memory of the arm alive.
That makes sense. And I'm running through Perplexity, by the way, that exact question you asked about sort of lost limbs, and I can read a little blurb here for you if you like. But what else you got? Go ahead.
That's all I have.
You're the best. Let me read a little bit of this before you take off here. So the prehistoric and early evidence. The oldest known surgical amputation occurred approximately 31,000 years ago in Borneo, where researchers discovered skeletal remains showing a precisely healed foot amputation. This prehistoric individual survived for years after the procedure, indicating sophisticated wound care involving regular cleaning, dressing, and disinfection using medicinal plants. So it goes back a very long time, I guess. I'll drop that in the chat if you guys want to check it out.
Well, I would check it out.
Okay, I'll drop it in the chat for you. And there's a ton more there because it cranked out a bunch of stuff. And this is the beauty of again, I'm not glorifying AI. Everybody relax. But being able to literally draw on like 50 or 75 sources in an instant, and then bring you sort of a quick detail is super powerful for learning and for, of course, conversations and all the rest of it. But yeah. It seems like
you must be very careful with that AI because the bubble's about to burst on that.
That's what I keep hearing.
They're not making money.
They're
not making money off it. You know, they're just losing money, and it's got too many problems. When the enormous amount of electricity and water use, the bubble's going to burst, and it's going to burst before this year's out.
Okay, so I'm looking forward to it because
it's going to make 2000. That crash, that internet crash in 2000, it's going to make that look like a walk in the park.
Perfect. I'm looking forward to it. I'm here and I'm ready for whatever comes next. You know me. You're the best. Appreciate the call.
Cash in your Bitcoin. Cash in your Bitcoin.
Okay, there you go. Cash in the Bitcoin. You never know what's going to happen next. This is not financial advice, by the way. Have a great one. You're the best.
Good night, Michael.
Good night, Robert. You know you love him. That's the Robert, again, a mentor of mine and us all. go check out his book. Go give him a follow, and let's inspire him to continue writing. You know where to find it, as you find all of our friends. Not all of them, most of them. I'm still adding some people and having some problems with migration from the old computer. So don't you mind me with all my tech issues. I'll bore you with those details later. But troubledminds.org/friends. It is still live on the interwebs. Just scroll down a little bit, actually a lot, because he is under the Robert, his writing name. I'll get my big head out of the way. And go check out his book. Like I said, full disclosure, he sent me a couple copies. I read it. He doesn't pay me to say it's good. It just is good. He's a great writer, and a lot of great ideas coming out of that. And it's very Troubled Mind style stuff. Again, Stories from a Fractured Mind, the Robert collection. Do check that out. And yeah, I appreciate you. Appreciate the call. Anything on that, James? A lot of sideways humor tonight. What is wrong with you people? No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead, James. If you got anything else.
Yeah, great call from Robert. Just that aspect of the mind wanting to regenerate things. I think it is fascinating. I do wonder about that. I don't know. I wonder if that can even, how that would work, because could that work for, I understand skin and bone and all those things, but the nerves themselves growing again, I'm curious if that could ever even be possible. Everyone knows I'm not really arguing with Robert or what he's saying. I'm just curious if that could even really happen. Because if it could, then it's something I think that needs to be discovered or looked into. Because of all the people out there who have problems with because of nerve damage, whether they were born with it or it happened later through injury. There's a lot out there, a lot of pain caused out there, or discomfort, or just problems caused by underdeveloped or damaged nerves. Funny enough, and the reason I'm thinking about this is because my own low vision is caused by an underdeveloped and or damaged, no one really knows, optic nerve bundle that it was just not right. It was not normal. And that's what started. That's how I was born legally blind, which is, from what I understand, it's a little more rare than a lot of other conditions with eyes. So, yeah, I don't know. I just wonder about the details of that in a way, not just the skin, because I do think obviously skin can regenerate and things like that, but how would that work with the nerves is what I'm just kind of focused on now.
Yeah, obviously, I have no idea. I mean, we're all kind of punching out there into the darkness in terms of, above our pay grade type stuff, because this is as yet discovered, technology. And so, yeah, I don't know. I don't have the answer to that. And you're right. I think there's a lot in play here, and that's why we should look at these things from a bunch of different perspectives, as we always do. And as I call them, reality tunnels, and recognize that so much truth comes out of these conversations when you defer truth anyway. There's so much that's like, yep, that's probably definitely true. That's probably definitely true, from all the different voices that kind of come through here, all the amazing folks, and the information we kind of flow through. It's it's a beautiful thing as we come to it. If you got more, go ahead. If not, I want to read a little bit more from this archaeological evidence that goes back to the Egyptians and stuff regarding amputations. It was a great question by Robert, and I'm glad he asked it.
Yeah, not much right now. I do wonder, and maybe we'll get back to this if there's time later, the idea of when you're having an out-of-body experience, still being able to feel and sense things the same way. It makes me wonder about that whole concept of alien abductions, or abductions of any kind, of otherworldly abductions, where the person's body does not leave where they're at. But it's like somehow their etheric form, their energy, their subtle body is taken away for a time and then brought back. But they still report feeling things when they're in that form. So I'm really curious about that, and it makes me wonder again, not that I like it to be all about me, but it makes me wonder about my own possible abduction experience and if that's what happened with it. And I can get into that more later if there's time.
Yeah, and there's an astral effect as part of it too, as part of the discussion. Yeah, wild stuff. Okay, we'll make some time for that, James. If you stay up late with us, you know us. I'll make some time. So here's the thing, right? So this is what I pulled up from the Robert. I just asked, how is a lost limb handled in ancient medicine? Very simply, and it spent 2 minutes cranking the thing out with 42 sources. But here you go. So I read the Borneo one, and there's the actual imaging of what you see, and it says skeletal remains showing a prehistoric leg amputation 31,000 years ago. But here we go. The ancient Egyptians. Now this one's wild. So ancient Egyptians pioneered early prosthetic surgery or technology, creating some of the world's oldest artificial limbs. The Cairo toe, a wooden and leather prosthetic dating between 2,700 and 3,000 years old, represents the earliest known practical artificial limb. This device showed remarkable sophistication, featuring flexibility and evidence of multiple refittings for the wearer. And there you go. There's the example and the picture of it. However, Egyptian surgical practices regarding amputation remained limited. Their general level of Egyptian surgery suggests that therapeutic amputations of major limbs were unlikely to have been performed routinely. Egyptian medical papyri describe only simple surgical procedures, and no surgical incisions have been found in tens of thousands of investigated mummies from the pharaonic period. While they certainly treated fractures with varying success, therapeutic amputations remained extraordinary procedures, which doesn't mean they didn't try. It just means they probably failed quite a bit. And yes, indeed. Anyway, that was a great question from Robert. I'm glad he asked it, because clearly I didn't know the answer to it. I did my best, but 31,000 years ago was a long time. And even if it's an extraordinary undertaking, there's something to this that we've been dealing with for a very long time. So what does it mean? And recognizing that sort of the ka, or the soul, or that mirror of ourselves, in the sense of an actual what would you call it? Like a soul double of our physical self persists even in our mind in 2025. That seems, dare I suggest, compelling. Love to hear your thoughts on this. More from James coming up. We got Derek the Night Stalker and your calls as well. 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. More on the way. Don't go anywhere.
In the shadows of the networks do they hide? Whispered legends unseen they reside. Ghosts in the machine, they move so fast. Guardians of rumors from the forgotten past. In the circuits where the secret lies, they breathe in one's begin disguise. You're free. Ghost in the machine. Let me be. Ghost in the machine. Can't see, but you're teaching me what it means to be. Surveillance eyes can't pierce the veil they weave. Invisible wisdom in code they believe. In the ether where freedom's not confined, they leave no trace, no shadow left behind. They navigate through the digital stream, living legends in this privacy dream. Ghost in the machine. You're free. Ghost in the machine. Let me be. Ghost in the machine. Can't see, but you're teaching me what it needs to be. Through the hidden ways, in the silence, looking on their path. Those in the machines unleash their wrath. Ghost in the machine, you're free. Ghost in the machine, let me be. Ghost in the machine, can't see, but you're teaching me what it means to be. In the jagged cold they find their might, guardians of a world forever in twilight. In Precocious warriors, they silently strive. Protect the truth, keep privacy alive. The silent echoes, they haunt the trails. Binary forests where secrets prevail. Where shadows grace, they dance unseen. Defenders of the unseen, digital green. Notes in the machine, you're free. Notes in the machine, let me be. Which is teaching me what it means to be. In the silence, they speak volumes loud. Guardians of freedom's cloak initial shroud. As long as shadows.
Sounds so much like Genesis with Phil Collins. What's up, guys? Hope you're well tonight. We got Derek the Night Stalker coming up. I see Ricky. What's up, Eric Apoc? Chef Pete. What's up, Roving Fungus? Dawn, Sonia, Gaston, the Roberts, Michael W. Jorge. Thanks for all the great calls. You're amazing. You guys are the best, as you know. Yeah, a lot of things in play here. And sympathetic magic, we can talk about all kinds of stuff, including this the science of the amputation, which would you believe it goes back 31,000 years of all things. We got the real JB Jason Barker over there on Rumble. What's up, brother? How you doing? And if I missed anybody else, just say hi, and I'll say hi back as we go. Here we go. Troubled Minds happening now. Okay, welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange. All the things, all the places, yada, yada, blah, blah, blah. 88.4 FM, Auckland, New Zealand. KUAP Digital Broadcasting out of Las Vegas. Tonight we're talking this, I'm calling it the Ghost Body Network. Neuroscience meets ancient knowledge. Now, if the brain preserves perfect maps of limbs that no longer exist, what else might be stored in the hidden architecture of consciousness? Could phantom sensations, morphic templates, and holographic body fields point to an unseen design where nothing of the self is ever truly lost? Or are we glimpsing evidence that awareness itself exists beyond the boundaries of matter? Which is really the core question. I mean, it doesn't get any more simple than the human soul, than the energy aspect of what people are. Then the original question of Troubled Minds is that, do we stop evolving the moment we're born? I don't think so. Again, above my pay grade, all that stuff. But I think the easy way to describe that is that we're not the same person. We're always evolving as a person, period, no matter what. And you could say biological evolution stops. But I think from the time we're born to the time we expire, there's a whole lot in between that is relevant. And I don't like to make the irrelevancy of human evolution in a lifespan. Well, I don't like to sideline it. I think it's something that's incredibly important to, well, guess what? People that are still alive. Anyway, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Lots of things in play here. And the study starts with this weird phantom limb stuff where we expect the brain to adapt, but it doesn't. It just keeps firing signals out to these missing limbs of amputees years later, as if it's never going to adjust, or it's going to take years and years and years for the brain to finally recognize, oh, that limb is no longer there. Now, why? That becomes the question. James, anything to add real quick? And we'll go to Derek, the Night Stalker. Thanks for being patient, my man.
Yeah, I think there's an important thing to consider here, which is that we don't know, and I mean, this may seem obvious, but I think it's important to point out again, maybe, that we don't know how the brain works, and we don't know where consciousness comes from. So just because the brain is trying to do something that it may have done before, I mean, it's amazing to think that it could be doing this to heal the body, but also I wonder if it's also just firing things off because that's all it knows how to do, and it has nothing to do directly with the consciousness that's in the body or the brain at the time.
Yeah, maybe. The old shout out to our good friend Mighty Rohan, rest in peace. He always said, "Fire and forget." Maybe the brain just keeps firing and forgetting whether the hand moves or not. It kind of cares less because it's just doing its function. Maybe you're right. Maybe you're absolutely right. Fire stuff, James. You were the best. Let's go to Derek in Massachusetts. The Night Stalker. What's up, brother? Welcome to the joint. How you doing tonight? Thanks for staying up late with us, and thanks for calling in. What's on your mind, my man? Go right ahead.
Great show. Great calls, everybody. My boss was off tonight, short-handed, so I didn't get a chance to hop in the chat and everything. And my thoughts might not be as organized as I would like them to be, but I got a couple of ideas here. First, like with the phantom limb thing, there's this. I wonder how much that extends to. Could that extend to like a phantom twin in the womb who like dies in the womb? Is that kind of, are you going to be missing your twin later on in life? And Elvis Presley famously had a brother die in the womb, and he talks about how his brother is kind of with him his entire life, and kind of talks about him like he's a ghost or he's another presence that he's always communicating with throughout the course of his life. And I'm not sure if I'm kind of mixing. There was an episode where they DC's Legends of Tomorrow where they kind of fictionalized it too. So I'm not sure how much I'm mixing up between that and the real version of it. But he is a very mystical guy into mystical stuff. I'm not sure how many like ideas, or definitely in the episode they credit his musical ability to his brother a lot. So I wonder if there's a kind of like phantom twin, like a ghost, or like kind of where inspiration comes from, or like something that we can not just miss an appendage, but miss like a ghost twin brother that you absorbed in the womb or something. You know, just popped in my head as far as ghosts is concerned. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I wonder. That's
better ideas.
Well, that's an interesting one, of course, because they say that twins have that connection, right? Like that bizarre, eerie connection throughout their life that seems supernatural. It seems as if that resonance of being connected at one point and then being disconnected stays again across time and distance. And it really begs the question of that entanglement, right? The entanglement effect of sort of, you were the same cells at some point, at least in the same pool of cells, and then suddenly you broke off, and then maybe that is the definition of that entanglement. And I wonder, as one passes on, that entanglement in the sense of the soul may persist. And I didn't know that about Elvis Presley, and that's an incredible aspect here that I'm going to look into right now, matter of fact.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. And then like you have a good segue here right now with the human connection aspect. That got me thinking about like the kind of the soulmates could be one thing. So missing a loved one could kind of feel like that. You miss if you're like had the same spouse for decades and decades and decades, and then you lose that loved one, and like a lot of times a person might pass away sooner afterwards. You kind of like, and always you kind of reaching to the other side of the bed thinking that it's going to be somebody there, or looking up at dinner and thinking that the person is going to be sitting across from you, or getting a drink for the person that they got every day at 5 o'clock, or that type of thing. Like it's a phantom limb, it's a phantom partner type of thing. But I wonder, especially like, sorry, I had a cough. Sorry. So yeah, especially if time doesn't exist, could there be kind of a remnant of like the hive mind that we had? So if we see the evolutionary process of something moving linear from like point A to point B, and we're somewhere in the middle of that or whatever. But what if kind of it all is happening at once? I mean, I kind of more touches in later on in my notes, but just like, what if there's a hive mind and we're missing a remnant of when, say, before the fall? People talk about we were like 5D or something like that, and then we had a fall where we became this more material, like meat like we had to build things with our hands and stuff, whereas when we were in 5D we were all telepathic and telekinetic, and like didn't even need to speak, and then we would build pyramids in 5D and they just popped up there, and then we fell down, and now we're trying to get back up, whatever. So like, what if kind of a remnant, like soulmates or twin flames, or the reason why like people look for best friends, or solitary confinement is such a painful punishment for people, is because we have a phantom limb. We are like the missing leg, or like we're the missing leg searching for the body, or the missing leg that misses its friend the hand when it was all tied into the same body. That the human hunger for connection is a phantom limb syndrome from when we were all unified in this like ancient Atlantean 5D telekinetic hive mind type of thing. What do you think about that?
I think it's fantastic. By the way, that is the Ghost Body Network, and you just segued perfectly into that. Let me read this to you. So the quick blurb from the write-up is this. It's so the Ghost Body Network is the persistence of phantom limb that maps. Phantom limb maps suggest the brain may be preserving far more than anatomy. These intact neural territories could represent dormant systems holding the blueprints of ancient sensory abilities humanity once possessed, as you just described, such as maybe, for instance, electromagnetic perception or ultrasonic awareness, waiting for conditions to reactivate them. It doesn't touch on the twin part or the twin flames or any of that, but that's exactly what you're describing in the sense of that ancient ability that is maybe waiting to wake up for a lot of reasons, and just waiting for the right stimuli. And maybe, well, maybe we're there, or maybe we're not.
Yeah. I mean, maybe that could be like what technology is doing too. Sorry, I'm too busy now. I got to cough again. Sorry.
That's all right. You're allowed.
Sorry. I'm running all over the place. Now I'm smoking in the car now. But but there's an episode of Star Trek where of an TNG where they capture a member of the Borg, and they kind of try to like tell him that he's a person and be like, we've taken you from this prison now. What's your name? You can like be a person now. You can be like, what's your desires and goals and stuff. But he was a limb that was missing the body collective. Like he was part of that. He was missing the hive mind. Like if a bee is removed from the hive, does the hive have a phantom leg syndrome for that bee? And then vice versa. Does the bee miss we don't consider, is the leg missing the body because we don't consider the leg to be sentient like that. But what if we are all part of a hive, a greater hive, and like, I mean, humans seem to need connection, humans seem to need to be around each other. They need to feel each other's aura or something like that. It can't only be like this to human touch stuff, obviously, and everything, but we seem to need it. And like Martian Manhunter in DC Comics, he's like the last surviving Martian, and like he's telepathic. And on Mars, they were a hive mind, and it was like you were telepathically bonded with everybody. So he's missing his so Superman is the last son of Krypton. Martian Manhunter is the last son of Mars, but Superman doesn't miss Krypton because he didn't experience it. Martian Manhunter, it was destroyed when he was like 30, so he misses it, but then he also misses the connection. He can never experience he can, like with the Justice League, he's best friends with them or whatever, or he can he can never find the connection that he had when they were all unified as one giant mind, as like one brain, and he's a missing brain cell. Like his whole like longing is almost like phantom limb syndrome or whatever. It's just interesting to me. And that like part of that, like if we did have some type of fall and we were telepathic, we were part of a hive mind, or we did have like other powerful abilities, or pick the theory you want to go to, is our desire to create technology like a remnant. So if you zoom way out of time, is that a remnant of that? Is that kind of like trying to like regenerate, basically? I mean, like the way kind of a reptile will regenerate its tail or whatever. Are we, as our body collective, if you zoom way out of time, rather than like lifespans, if just the entire totality of humanity has one lifespan or whatever, like who's to say we aren't telepathic for most of the time? And the last like 5,000 to 10,000 years is kind of an anomaly, kind of the part where we are missing a leg, and then we have to like get an implant or whatever. We have to get a prosthetic, and the prosthetic could be in the form of technology. So Elon patented like telekinesis and telepathy as terms and stuff, and the Neuralink and everything is our desire to build things, a natural kind of phantom limb thing, rejuvenate, like trying to like regrow a missing limb, or that ghost body term you used that I'm forgetting right now. What do you think about that?
No, yeah, it does bring back that like I brought up earlier, that subtle body. Like I clicked it up on the screen.
The subtle
here.
body,
yeah. Where it is, I'm going to read a little bit from this. So this is just from Wikipedia. So again, forgive me on that. A subtle body is a quasi-material aspect of the human body, being neither solely physical nor solely spiritual, according to various esoteric, occult, and mystic teachings. This, of course, contrasts with the mind-body dualism that has dominated Western thought. But you know me, like I'm looking at this and, trying to look at it in several different ways, 6, 7, 8, 10 different ways. And this certainly seems to play as part of it, because if we're missing, again, as you're describing entanglement in some cases, right, with people and that human connection. And I do wonder too, if you would remove somebody from, I don't know, like some people, like isolation is the best, right? Like, what do they say? Like the introvert is like, I'm happy alone, right? Like I don't need that. Most of the time I just don't need that. But there's some people that have to have it. They thrive on interaction with others and sort of this energetic exchange constantly and continually. And it's weird though, because like, how do we define that within ourselves? And then also, how do we look at it in terms of these ancient traditions? Because they certainly recognized it. and there were some people that could deal with it outside of that space. But I don't know. And again, as you're describing too, it brings about the twin flames and of course that twin stuff. And the twin stuff is spooky AF. Like if you've ever looked into that, it is. Do we have any twins out there? Anybody who actually has a twin sibling that might be able to speak to this? Because I mean, this is the type of stuff when you read accounts of this, it creeps you out. It's almost as if they are sort of quantum entangled anyway, period, forever. That's the weird part of this to me. I don't know. It's but the subtle body is the one, and links will be in the description. I didn't have time to drop them all, but there's like 15 links that are very, very good. And the subtle body in this particular aspect, the quasi material of the human body itself is fascinating, and I think it fits very well with this conversation.
Yeah, exactly. Like the quasi body or the subtle material body or like the morphic field as a body, like shaped like a body, like in the kind of I'm visualizing it. What does that look like? Is that an upright human that we are right now, the version of us that we are right now, we have been for the last like couple thousand or a bunch of thousands of years or stuff, or is it reflective of the entire course of human evolution? In which case, how long do we have other abilities if those ideas are correct? And if we are some kind of in this lower state, this bottom of the sine wave type of thing, is our technology trying to like rejuvenate, like make material again something that already exists in the subtle? Like, are we let's just for instance, like if we have some kind of like, if our subtle body has three arms, and right now we have 2 arms. For all we know, a million years ago we had 3 arms. It was way more convenient. We did all kind of crazy stuff. Like they were able to build the pyramids because they were way fast. This was a joke, but they were way faster. They had 3 arms. They were hammering and nailing like crazy. It was nuts. And then in the future, we'll be able to like implant a third arm, mechanical third arm, and have a Neuralink to us or whatever. And that like right now we're kind of in this phantom limb stage where we're missing that. We're longing for that. And the connection thing, the solitary confinement is really painful type thing. We're in this time period where we have kind of this past over that phantom or like that broken limb, or we have kind of a pseudo prosthetic over that misconnection in the form of the internet, in the form of technology and stuff, that we can almost feel overwhelmed with how many people and interactions we have to deal with online, and the stresses online, and getting in fights with people online, or like falling in love online, and all kinds of stuff, and never see somebody out in the waking world, never actually touch another human being and that type of stuff. So, and there's all kind of like incel stuff and other kind of problems with that creating, obviously, and different delusions and whatever. But like, it's something that didn't happen if you were like made a cabin in the woods in the 50s or whatever. Now you can have a cabin in the woods with the internet and feel overcrowded, even though you never see somebody.
Shut it down. Stop it. So leave me alone. And you're out there by yourself anyway.
Exactly. Yeah. So are all these things, and why do humans seemingly always building, and like why is all the remnants of humanity a piece of technology and stuff? It's because we're like, for all that we can see is the rejuvenation process. We've been constantly trying to regrow that limb or regrow that tail and stuff. And other than that, I got one more big idea. What do you think about that?
Yeah. So, okay. So I'm going to go back to what you said earlier. We're missing the third arm.
Yeah.
I don't think we're missing. Yeah. And again, I know that was metaphorical. It was not direct a third arm. So just
well, like the third eye.
Yeah. There you go. Like, exactly. Yeah. But I think it's not, if we're missing limbs at all, I think it's tentacles is what we're actually missing.
That was my notes. Yeah, exactly.
Was that in your notes? Because look, like I said, as we race into the future here, and then we're going to build humanoid robots, but eventually they're going to be, too human. They're going to be replicant. They're going to be, what's that movie, Blade Runner, right? And it's not going to be cool because we're not going to be able to tell the difference. However, when you have like these tank tread robots with 14 tentacles, you're going to be able to tell the difference. So maybe this is where evolution has led us all along. I didn't know that was in your notes, but that's hilarious.
No, I mean, exactly. And it like segues perfectly, because then like, what does our subtle body look like? If I talk about this all the time with the circadian rhythms and stuff, that if humanity is a species that's destined to go off planet, and if the totality of humanity lasts 100 billion years, like, and only 100 million of them were on the Earth, if you look at that timeline, us having a circadian rhythm that matches the Earth would be a blip on that radar. It'd be nothing. It'd be like coming out of the primordial ooze or something like that. So if we had, and again, I don't know if we had telekinesis back in the day. These are all just like theories on theories on theories, but just for the idea of these yugas, these cycles of up and down. And if we're in a down thing, could it be and especially like if time doesn't exist, and our subtle body wouldn't really be evolving like that. There would just be a subtle body, and we're kind of just navigating different slices of it. We're just in this time slice of the subtle body, and we're experiencing it in one way or whatever. And that's kind of what Grant Morrison describes 5D beings look like. Like they're metallic blob, liquid, iridescent liquid blobs, which are us. It's like, but he also describes it as like, it's like if every moment of your life was a time slice, these are all of your moments of your life connected, tied together, and pushed together into just like one shape. You know, like what would that look like outside of time? There would be no time slices or whatever. So I'm rambling, but just like in my notes, I have future phantom limb syndrome. If time doesn't exist, are we missing limbs that we'll have for if humanity lasts for 100 billion years? Right now, we haven't had Doc Ock tentacle robot arms yet. But what if we end up having that for like 80 billion years of human history? We have tentacle arms, and right now we're long, and like time doesn't exist. So just our phantom body has our subtle body has tentacle robot arms or whatever. We're missing that. We're longing for that. We're searching for that. The example I have is like flight. The Superman is the man of tomorrow, insinuating that in the future we'll all be Superman. We'll all be able to fly. And Krypton, they can fly with technology and stuff. That like I feel like, and sometimes I feel like I just look up and I'm like, damn, I feel like we can fly in the future. If we can fly, is that feeling I'm having phantom limb syndrome for flight or whatever, or just technology in general? Like I always think these genius coders like Zuckerberg or Bill Gates or whatever, if they were born 100 years earlier, what would their life be like? Would they really struggle? Like, or somebody who's awesome at cars, if they were born like just have a natural intuitive ability to fix a car. If they were born when we only rode horses, what would their life be like? Could they go from a super successful mechanic, a genius mechanic, or a genius coder, a super billionaire who lived up this technology of his time? If he was born in any other time, what would he be like? It's almost we have like phantom limbs for like a future technology or whatever. And these longings, these like adjectives people have that they don't know where it comes from or whatever. Are they missing? Are they like, I don't know, missing something that we're going to have in the future? Or like kids with like iPad babies, you can just hand like me a piece of technology. I'm okay at it, whatever. Like hand a person a few generations older than me, they're probably a little rougher. Hand a little kid an iPad. They know how to do everything in 1 minute. It's an intuitive ability or whatever. Are we going to have some kind of external technology with us for most of human history? So does our subtle body like also? I mean, are all these things kind of just like us trying to compensate for missing things we had in the past, or build things that we will have in the future? And our desire to make them is a symptom of this like future phantom limb syndrome. Does that make any sense? I'm really rambling. But.
No, yeah, or the past. Actually, that came up
exactly,
as part of my brainstorming. I didn't add it to the write-up, but that was part of it. I was like, this temporal Taco Tuesday, does it fit here? I don't know. But the way you described it, I think it does, because I think we're all yearning for the place we fit, and the place we fit may not be 2025. No offense to that. I'm just saying that some people feel out of joint. Some people feel out of touch with whatever that looks like. They're like, you know what, I just belong in the forest, and that's what kind of causes that Luddite aspect of this stuff, and rejecting technology. And look, I totally get it too. Like I said, I've got this. I'm not kidding you. I've got this overwhelming desire to just take everything I own, cash it in, sell everything, and then just go build something in the desert and never come back. Like it is in me. I feel this, but also there's this draw of technology as well. And so it's like, so which is it, and how do we deal with this? But I do wonder if sort of us in that space, the longing for the place we belong, and it might be, maybe you're like a blacksmith and belong in the 1500s. Like I always make the joke of, how horrific would have been if you were in the 1500s and got put to the sword for, something somebody said, some rumor or something or whatever. And the Lord was like, yep, he did it, kill him, and you're done. But what if that was your jam? Not killing people, but, making horseshoes, and you made the best horseshoes the world had ever seen. Maybe that was your jam. I don't know. That's so to the past, to add the past to what you're talking about with the future there. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, and that could be what the Neuralink thing is too. So the connectivity along with the human connection could be when we were a hive mind, from the past, or when we'll be a hive mind in the future? Like, are we becoming a Borg in the? Do we long for connection? The monoculture I was talking about, listen to the radio because it's the same song somebody else is listening to, just to have that connection or whatever, because we were that in the past, or because eventually we are going to have some kind of hive mind that's just a course of consciousness or whatever, potentially. Maybe that lasts for much, 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 much longer than the state we're in right now. Is that future limb syndrome, or just like somebody who was born immediately before the drum? Like if John Bonham's soul was born pre-drums, is he a crazy person banging on rocks or whatever? But if he's born at the perfect time, when metal was about to rule the world, he becomes a rock god. Or something like, I don't want to be controversial, but something like autism or Asperger's, like people born with that in the 80s had a really tough life, and was picked on or called a nerd or whatever. People born with that a little bit later, or maybe at the time scale, a little bit later into becoming Zuckerberg or Elon Musk. Maybe like people with natural coding abilities, when they had nothing to code, might just seem like an outlier. But is there a future technology like that is there something that we're longing for that we don't even know it exists? You know, the way that people long to go out in the woods. Do we long for, and like, if time doesn't exist,
tank treads and tentacles. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like, so if time doesn't exist, does our subtle body already look like this? And then just like, if time does exist, if you zoom out in the timeline, we could have had a long history of this, or a long future of this, just like our circadian rhythm. If we are off-world, have an off-world future, then that the time where we have to navigate our sleep schedule based on the rise and fall of the sun, it's a blip in the radar. Like, I mean, so maybe we have some kind of like future circadian rhythm we can adjust to, some future limb, some future subtle body thing that exists now because time doesn't exist, or because it occupies most of our history. And that, I'm saying the same thing over and over again, but we make friends because we long for a hive mind we once had or we will have. We're building technology because we long for abilities we once had or will have. That's basically it. Would you I don't know. Phantom limb, future phantom limb.
I love it. And it was, like I said, part of the write-up, and it didn't make it in, but I'm glad you brought it up because it definitely fits. You're the best, brother. Appreciate the call.
Sorry for rambling.
Thank you. What are you talking about? Fire as always. That's Derek the Night Stalker. Go give him a follow, troubledminds.org/friends. Scroll down just a little bit, and you'll find Night Stalker under N, of course, and go follow his YouTube channel. Go leave him a nice comment about you heard him on Troubled Minds. Make more content. We love you, Derek. Appreciate the call. More Troubled Minds coming up, more from James and your calls as well. Don't go anywhere. Be right back.
In the heart of the steel jungle, machines hum a digital rumble. Gates of cyber open wide, plug us into cosmic tide. Feeling sparks across the sky. As knowledge flies, we're amplified. Stargate, 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 open to the arcane fate. In this massive data center dome, eternal truth stop to roam. Circuits flicker with endless fire, data streams that never tire. Unified by electric dreams, unlock the truth in silver beams. Stargate, 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 open to the arcane fate. Synthesize what we seek and find. Infinite paths in the network mind. Answers buzz from star to core. Knowledge whispers evermore. Stargate. In realms where the data streams collide, imagination and logic side by side. In a labyrinth of digital maze, we transcend our earthly ways. Tapping keys like cosmic tones, spikes become our whispered homes. Stargaze, 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 open to the arcane fate.
Or something like that, right? What's up, guys? Thanks for staying up late with us and bearing with me and caring about the conversations enough to stick through it. Yeah, it's we got some stuff to get to because it's like I said, it's weird. This one's weird, and how weird it gets. Go check out the write up. There's a lot of wild ideas in there. But I'm glad Derek brought up that actual time travel bit because I was thinking the same thing too. I was like, is this too weird? I don't know. Right? You guys know me. I get too weird sometimes, and I think it fits though. I think it fits sort of that longing, that out of time longing of humanity itself. And certainly in this case, talking about that subtle body, it makes a ton of sense. What's up, Ricky, Eric, APOC? What's up, Chef Pete? We got Roving Fungus. What's up, Dawn, Sonia, Gaston, the Robert, and Michael W. You guys are the best. Thanks for the calls tonight. Who'd I miss? If I missed anybody in any of the chats, just say hi and I will say hello. Hello. What's up, Raz? YY's here, Puff. Yeah, shout out to Sweets and Hiker. I promise you, I did try a couple times to get you guys made mods on Rumble, and I'm not sure if it was when Rumble was having problems, but it wouldn't have it. It's all like shot back in error, and I was like, "What? Come on!" And then I tried the other one, and shot back in error. So I've tried a couple different times, and it didn't work. So I don't know if they changed the process, or I'm just a moron. So anyway, I'll get it fixed. Sorry about that. I promise you, I have tried. Anyway, yeah. Blasphemy. What's up, Puff? Puff is here. Okay. So, yeah, that's what's going on. We got tons of stuff to get to. Like I said, nobody on the line. If you guys want to jump in here, more from James. I want to hear James's tale as well as part of this. What do you guys know about this and how weird does it get when we're talking about this ghost body network? Of course, we're just talking about the human soul in basic terms. Here we go. Troubled Minds happening now. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We're streaming on YouTube, Rumble, X, Twitch, and Kick. We're broadcasting live on the Troubled Minds Radio Network. That's KUAP Digital Broadcasting, which you can find right there at troubledminds.org. On the very top, there's a black button. Click that, and you'll get an MP3 stream, and you'll hear us live. You don't have to pay anything anywhere. It's completely free, and there's 24 hours of programming of amazing stuff. James is on the network. So many other folks. Ricky, who else is in here that's on the network that I can shout out? Jen, just put her hand up. Jen as well. What's up, Roving Fungus? I see you guys. Yeah, go check it out. Also, we're on 88.4 FM Auckland, New Zealand, and we're talking about the phantom limb syndrome, okay? Where clearly this is a one that goes back quite a ways, and it's a conundrum. And I wanted to bring up too as part of the conversation that, have you guys seen that experiment that they do where sort of our brain can fool itself, where they have a person sitting there and they have their arm on the other side of like a piece of cardboard, and then they cover it entirely. And so you can't see their actually, let's call it their left arm, for instance. But then they put into place on the front side of the cardboard that they can see like this rubber arm that looks as if it's coming out of, close to where their arm should be. And so they sit there with like a fake arm. I mean, their real arm is still there. They don't amputate it at all. But then they sort of replace it visually with this rubber arm and then their other hand. And they take a hammer and they smash the actual rubber arm. They hit it. And there should be zero pain because there's no connection whatsoever. But they jump, they freak out, they feel actual pain as part of it. And it's not just sort of the shock of it because they know what's coming. Their mind knows exactly what's happening before it happens. But then when they hit it with the hammer, they jump like they've been hit with a hammer. And obviously, clearly they haven't. It's, I don't know, the brain's a weird thing when we talk about this, again, subtle body as we're talking about, or sort of the sort of substrate of, like I said, the energy body of the human soul itself. I don't know. What does it look like? As usual, look, I don't have those answers above my pay grade. But those types of experiments make me go, WTF. Anything on that, James? We got Jen on the line, as you know, and I think we got plenty of time tonight to work in all this stuff. So you tell me, you decide how you want to do this. Welcome back to the joint. How you feeling, my man? And go right ahead.
Yeah, doing okay. My microphone got jostled a bit, so hopefully I still sound okay.
Yep, you're good.
But okay, good. Positioning is difficult when you can't see the position. I'll just say that. But yeah, just and that study, that experiment that you just described, that makes me think that there's no other explanation except that part of that person's energy, somehow that subtle body, their consciousness, who knows, I don't even know what, but something of them connected to that inanimate object that was designed to look like an arm. And that, to me, is the only explanation for, other than psychological, but even psychological, that's still the mind, that's still the brain. And so, I've heard that the brain causes pain, or it something about pain being partly in the mind. And I don't think that's all together the way it is, but I think it's part of it. So I'm really, I mean, it's terrifying in a way to think about that experiment, but also fascinating as well.
Yeah, it's that whole thing is weird too. Like I said, I'll see if I can dig that up. It's on X, and many of you have probably seen that. But it's a strange thing because your mind knows rationally that you're not under any danger at all. I mean, we're not smacking people with hammers for science, but in this case, it's a rubber arm that looks like your arm because they've made sort of an optical illusion. And then, and I messed it up a little bit because they take the hammer first and they kind of tap it on the knuckles very lightly and on the wrist and on the hand and up the arm and kind of make your brain start to feel like it feels that by seeing the visual aspect of it. And then they go whack and then the person jumps. It's great. It's the craziest thing ever. But our brain controls all of those things. And how does that work? And again, so that's a phony representation of this actual subtle body. And yet we still respond to it. And in the inverse, this ghost body network, as I'm describing, an amputee still feels still feels pain and sensation in a actual amputated limb years later, and the brain is still firing information to this phantom limb, which again, it seems incredible, and it probably explains in a dare we suggest a pseudoscientific way as yet undiscovered why we still feel that pain in an amputation when we shouldn't. Like that's long gone. That's old trauma. Anyway, what do you guys know about this? It gets weird when we talk about the subtle body and of course the ancient Egyptian Ka, as I've been describing. What do you know about it? 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. We'll put you on the show. It's as easy as that. So let's go to Jen in Missouri, the Arcane Observer. Thanks for being patient, my friend. You're on Troubled Minds. Go right ahead.
Well, I've thought about this for a long time. Can you hear me okay?
Yep, coming through loud and clear. Thank you.
Well, the way that dreams work and what they tell us about reality, it turns out there's a wild connection between phantom limb syndrome, and it shows just how much our brains make up what we think is real. Like when you dream, your dream's basically running a simulation. During REM sleep, your visual areas and your emotional centers are firing like crazy. Well, I think it's the tendrils and everything that we're thinking about have to do with the nervous system. The feelers are our nervous system. And the cause for the phantom limb syndrome is that it's an extension of, it's an undying effort from the way that the brain is interacting with the nervous system. If you take the skin and the bone and the muscle off of a human body and you just leave it with the nervous system of the spine and all of the tendrils coming off of that, which is what we actually are made of. I mean, this is actually why we are what we are, is this sort of worm, this sort of horrific thing, actually, visually to imagine. It's as if the body created the muscle and that came after. Like the root of what humans look like on a table in a medical field, for example, you have the entire nervous system, and it's so sensitive. It has to be protected in every other way, with the flesh and the bone and the muscle. But the nervous system itself, connected all with the brain and everything else, it looks like a squid or like a worm or something of the kind. It looks entirely different than what we look at when we look at each other. It's dramatically different, but it is the actual thing that is responding and experiencing and reacting to reality. So that is where the influence of existence is actually occurring, is within this worm of what the body actually is. And everything else outside of that, the skeletal system, the muscle system, the skin, it's all to protect that. Almost like the way that a hermit crab goes and gets a home inside of a shell. It's to protect that. And the way that it's expressed is really interesting too, because I mean, the way that, the nervous system creates the environment around itself, or how it how it does protect itself. But the nervous system itself and the phantom limb syndrome is directly linked, pardon me, to the dreamscape. If you, when you're dreaming in REM sleep, it's accessing parts of the brain that deal with memory and emotion. Those all become activated, and those are all, directly linked into the nervous system. So the idea that if you were to lose a limb, the nervous system would still recall that limb being there because it's connected to a part of the brain that is so intricately united with vision and imagination and dreamscape of memory of having had that, and it remaining such a part of itself that, that is the extension of it. So I don't think necessarily that it's spiritual. I think it is the nervous system, and it's the firing of the neurons and the power of the mind. They found new studies recently that the human brain glows. It glows in the dark. So, which is really interesting. Basically, just so there's a light coming. There is a light coming from within, and it's coming from the brain. It's illuminating in a way. And I think this was on like like Life Science or something like that. Some article I saw, but that the brain actually is illuminating and is glowing type of light. There's another. There was something I shared with James. Actually, it was children that were blindfolded, and they were told to imagine a light coming from behind their eyes. And through that imagination mechanism, they were able to see with their eyes completely blindfolded. And I'll find the study that was done, but it was repeated over and over again. It was able to be replicated. And it's interesting because in old cases of like studying for this sort of spiritual, aggressive, trying to become spiritual shaman or something like that there was a sort of situation where they would do that as a sort of exercise by covering the eyes and making the individual try to see. And they would always try to sense their environment. They would never actually see their environment. It was like, there's this idea that they should try to sense that there's a tree there or something of the kind. But there's a lot to that. I would say that people should look into that, about like, just if they're interested in why it could occur, how it could occur. But I think that the phantom limb syndrome, it comes from because it's connected to the part of the brain that's connected with dreaming and with memory retention and emotion, and that those are linked together. But I think it's the nervous system that's doing it. And as far as it being, what's the spiritual aspect, or is there something spiritual to it? It's the root of your existence. Your if any part of that connects to the brain is disconnected from it or discontinued, you discontinue. I mean, it's not quite like it's not like the muscular system. It's not like the skeletal system is unique in that way, that the root of our existence is rooted in the nervous system and how that reacts to everything. As far as how does things like a yoga or Tai Chi, because it's reacting on the nervous system, it's keeping it healthy. It's treating the nervous system. The same as things like relaxation or visual meditation or whatever. That is why that ties into that, because it's actually not treating just the sore muscles or the physical activity. It's working at a root level, the root of what a person is. And like I say, I will repeat it again. It is terrifying looking to look at the human nervous system just sort of pulled away from its shell. And to imagine that we all look like that. And that we are just what you're seeing on the outside is a sort of a progression. It's an extension. It's a projection of what is needed for survival, or like how that nervous system is interpreting reality and genes and all of that. But it's just really fascinating. But I think at a spiritual level, that the nervous system is all that firing of all of the power of the glowing brain, as I described sort of earlier. And then there's the heart being described as a sort of miniature star or sun, the continuance of the beating, the power behind that life force it's almost cosmic. The strength of it and why it continues on as it does, what sets it off and why it continues, isn't a mystery. I mean, they have kind of broken it down into that it's just this dynamic force that's very similar, though, to what we see in our environment around us as far as like cosmically speaking. But then that is firing all the power into the nervous system. And then the nervous system is reacting continuously and sensing everything, through its 5 senses, or some would say 12 senses, and on, about how everything is being perceived and responded to through that.
Yeah. Real quick, I'm trying to find that image of the nervous system you're talking about, because I've seen it and it does look terrifying. It looks incredibly alien, and all I find are all these sort of
I posted it one time a long time ago, and it's literally like the brain and the eyes and the extended tendrils of the nervous system when it's pulled away in sort of a medical view, and it looks just like an octopus or a squid or something.
Yeah, from some alien planet. Totally.
Totally does look alien. And just to imagine if people are used to seeing the skeletal system and they're like, oh, that's neat. And that's what we are. No, like when you look at the actual nervous system, that is actually what we are. And the rest of it is almost like a shell. But it looks, yes, like that. And so
found it.
It's just like that is what, yep. And that is extending out, and it's protected by the flesh and the bone and the muscle. So that, because if you were exposed to all of it, it would be like torture. Just the exposure, because apparently this is not, I think that the saline water of the ocean and things like that, like all life forms come from, is more akin to what that came from, or something similar. And that's just my own speculation, but it does seem to resonate more like that it eventually, when it was exposed to the air and the elements, it had to have protection because the nerves are so sensitive. The whole nervous system is so delicate that it was protected by the bone and the flesh and the skin. And it was more like a shield against, but also able to perceive even beyond that distance. They have dogs, like scent animals that are able to smell at a great distance. And I think that, pardon me, goodness, that our nervous system is able to sense at a great distance, but it's limited if there are things in the way, like the flesh and the bone and so on and so forth. But I think that system you're looking at right there is the way that, and it's possibly what we ignore because we've begun to believe that we've forgotten what we actually are. we become convinced by the illusion. Yeah.
As I like to call it, the meat suit experience, because it is complicated. And as usual, I think you may be right here as this larger conversation is that, you talk about biophotonics as you were describing the brain glowing and other parts. Like recently they discovered that we're glowing from our eyes as well. And even from every cell in our body, like this type of stuff, which is incredible. But then also as part of this and the actual nervous system itself and, all of that, resonant energy from our heart and our brain that's actually measurable outside of our body. I do think in what you're describing here is in play massively, because it doesn't have to be a spiritual space as usual, because we're talking about the human energy factor and coming from our nervous system at large, which is the core of who we are, of what we are. As horrific and alien as it looks, like I said, if you could script an alien movie with this thing as the main antagonist, and it would play. It would totally play. But by the way, oh yeah, that's you and that's me. So welcome to it.
That's all of us. Yeah, it's wild, and it's like it's like we put on a suit so that we could walk around on the surface and experience it because we have a suit on. But I think too, just the power of the source of the life itself inside that nervous system, and that it's using this delicate source to feel its environment to such an extent, and it is creating the mental imagery in the mind and the impossible things that are accomplished in studies we've heard about with remote viewing and lucid dreaming that are accomplished in the same part of the mind. All of that, it's the nervous system. Like I say, within REM sleep, it's the part of the brain, the amygdala for emotion, and then the hippocampus for memory, I think is what it was. Those centers of the brain are active in REM sleep. And I think that, the fact that it's all linked together, it's very likely that the brain just remembers that you had a limb there and it's still firing from the nervous system, the same patterns of energy, of power. I don't know if I call it power or what you would call it, but the energy is still, the electricity or something of the kind is still being fired into that direction. And the memory recall is still feeling out that area because it had it for some period of time. I think it would be different if you didn't start out having it. But I think that it's kind of locked in a way. So I don't know. I just think that there's something like that going on. And it's the nervous system and the endocrine system that have everything to do with that, the phantom limb syndrome, I think, that people are experiencing. And beyond that, too, but we are experiencing our world from that alien image you see there. That's what's experiencing it. And the rest of it is all a sort of survival mechanism, because, and it's really interesting that that's how the way that everybody is expressed, but at the very root of it, that's the root of us all right there.
Yeah, well said. Well said. Biophotonics and the nervous system, and consider Rupert Sheldrake as well.
We're a bunch of aliens.
Yeah, exactly.
Have a good night, Mike.
Yeah, you're the best. Appreciate the call. Jen in Missouri, the Arcane Observer. Go give her a follow on all the places. You know where to do that. troubledminds.org/friends. It says follow Jennifer here. And of course, follow Salcedo Paranormal. She's the co-host over there on the weekends as well with James. And help our friends grow, and these amazing ideas flow through. Look at, like I've always said, this is not just me. This is a wall of people that have made this incredible. And I know we got some people pending to get on this list. I'm notoriously slow about doing extra stuff, and we got some mods to make over there on Rumble too. I'm sorry about that. We need a male mod on Rumble. There's been a request that there's too many female mods on Rumble. I mean, is that a thing? Anyway, we need some male mods on Rumble. I think Real JB was one, and I think shout out to Mighty Rohan. We miss you. Rest in peace, brother. Was also one. But anyway, James, anything to add there to what Jen said? Lots of stuff she brought up, and that nervous system thing is creepy as hell. It's something that's been on my mind for a long time, because once you see that, you can't unsee it. But that's you, James, and that's me.
Yeah, that is wild. I did look at it. Great call from Jen as always, and always happy to have her as a co-host on my show. And this has been making me think too. Since Derek's call and then Jen's call, and based on the image, then Derek might remember this. Others may as well. For anyone that has seen any of the the Justice League animated series or the DC Comics animated series from the 90s and 2000s. At one point, they had the Superman villain. Funny that Superman comes back into this. Brainiac, which is the sentient machine being, and he can have a body, a full human-shaped body, but also he can just exist as a head with tentacles coming out of it. And in that series, in one or two of those series, he had a ship that flew around, wherever he needed to go. And the ship was literally, I think it may even been part of a giant robot at one point, but either way, at some point, he was just flying around in this giant version of his own head with all these tentacles sticking out of it and coming down and hanging in the sky. And that also reminds me, that image, of apparitions people have seen of similar things, of either stick figures or just masses of light or energy that seem to have tentacles, or at least extensions of all kinds sticking out of them. I really find that fascinating. I wonder if there's a connection there as well. So, and I'll get into more stuff if there's time in the last segment here.
Yeah, actually, you bringing that up, as you said it, I immediately thought of that Ghost Hunter show with Zach Baggins, right? And they have they're scanning, energy or whatever they're doing. Like, I don't know, believe it or don't believe it. As usual, like I'm not here as the arbiter of truth or whatever. But it is interesting that of all the things they could do as, if they were trying to fool people, like a visual representation, that they could have like the disembodied apparition, like in Ghostbusters in the library in the beginning, right? Like they could have like that, like a very obvious silhouette. But instead they have like this weird stick figure thing that looks kind of like, in the sense, kind of like a nervous system. You're right, James. Oh, geez. Again, I'm not saying it's real. I'm not saying it's fake. I'm saying make up your own mind, because wow. Yeah. Okay. So sometimes there are connections and sometimes there are connections. So what do you know about it? More with James coming up, and your calls as well. Nobody on the line if you guys want to jump in here. 702-957-1037. This is Troubled Minds. I'm Michael Strange. Yeah, more on the way. Don't go anywhere. Be right back.
Drifting through the quantum haze. Mind entangled in a daze. Whispers in the neural mist. Echoes of what might exist. Lost in time in this web we spin. It's alright beyond our skin. Consciousness forever twined in the dark unseen. Quantum dreams, we're all connected. Though we're scattered, we are reflected. Frequencies that pull us in. Parallel worlds kept within. Synapses that intertwine. Fragments of an endless line. Feel the pulse of a distant star. It's alright, we are who we are. In the void we find the light in tangled hearts. Quantum dreams, we're all connected. In the silence, hear the call. One by one, we rise and fall. Quantum minds forever near. In this world so clear. Quantum dreams, we're all connected. Though we're scattered, we are reflected. Dark energy in the depths we find. Mysteries of the human mind. Particles that drift afar. Whispers of who we are. Hold the thread of the great unknown. It's alright, we are never alone. Flow through time on currents thin. Universe is found within. Feel the echoes of the past. In this moment, futures cast. Through the veil of the space between. It's alright, life's a lucid dream.
Indeed. Don, regarding mods on Kick, we don't have enough people listening on Kick, but, because we have Herschel show up sometimes, and then Taxi Graveyard shows up sometimes. So I don't even know how to make a mod on Kick, but if it becomes a thing, we'll make some mods over there. Yeah. I don't know, but I'm not sure what happened with Rumble too. Like the first mods I made were easy, and now you have to go to a whole different screen. They changed the process. Anyway, if anybody can help me with that, I'm not quite a boomer, but here we go. Troubled Minds happening now. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We're streaming on YouTube, Rumble, X, Twitch, and Kick. We are broadcasting live on the Troubled Minds Radio Network. That's KUAP Digital Broadcasting. And, of course, 88.4 FM, Auckland, New Zealand. Shout out to our friends down in Auckland. Tonight, we're talking the Ghost Body Network, Neuroscience Meets Ancient Knowledge. And we started with this fantastic article talking about how the brain retains lost limbs control map, define plasticity theories. Now, what is it? Cortical plasticity is what they describe as, and I know many of you have heard this in terms of neuroscience, as I described earlier. The idea of cortical plasticity is that our brain adapts. It will change. It will, for our nervous system specifically, as Jim was talking about, and also neuroplasticity in terms of new neuroscience, right? Like this, it's all the rage. It's all the rage. But I'm not so sure it's, as usual. I'm a what would you call me? Not a dissenter. I'm somebody that's like, oh, well, that's a really cool scientific thing that we discovered. But what does it mean about the future? And what does it mean about the things we missed? Like that's how I see the world. And look, to my detriment, I know, but also to my superpower, because I can look at things slightly differently and talk about them and wonder about what we are missing as part of it. Is it a spiritual thing, as I've been describing, part of that Egyptian Ka from when we began the Egyptian conception of the soul that has, 8 different sections to it? But also maybe, as Jen was describing, maybe it's not spiritual at all. And that biophotonic, or the energy, resonant human energy, as I'm always talking about as well, is part of what's happening here. And our nervous system, there or not, is still trying to receive things. Look, I don't know. I don't really know the answers to these questions, but I do know that there's amazing science happening every day. And don't be fooled, right? Don't be fooled by such and such is an amazing breakthrough because they did it in mice. Okay. Remember, every damn scientific breakthrough you see, for example, remember they told us like 20 years ago, oh, we got the breakthrough. We can grow new teeth. So dentists are going to be obsolete in like 10 years. And here we are 20 years later, and then they're still saying this. It's like, wait, so which was it? Did you figure that out or did you not? And, the asterisk is we figured it out in mice. And people are, I know this is controversial, but people are not mice. I mean,
what?
James, don't make me get rowdy. I know it's a controversial thing to say, and I know many of you will disagree, but people are not mice. And look, mammals to mammals, dust to dust, as they say, or whatever, as I just made up. But you get my point. There's some things here that are kind of all over the place. And it's important to keep an open mind and a skeptical mind at the same time, and wonder what they're trying to tell us and why some of these things, some of these breakthroughs that were 20 years ago have not culminated into a commercial space as yet. And let me suggest, not because dentists will be out of business, let me suggest because people are not mice. James, what you got on that?
Not too much, but yeah, I do agree. I was just making a joke, but yeah, it's, and what's funny about that is you were just talking about the it's good to be skeptical, and now here I am about to talk about my possible alien abduction experience. So we can cover all the bases here in these kinds of shows, which is good.
All the bases. Yeah, okay. So we got Enoch on the line. So if you want to peel it off, you tell me if you want to take him first, or do you want to tell the thing? He just put his hand up just a couple minutes ago, so he hasn't waited a ton. So you tell me. You decide on how this goes, and we'll do it that way.
Let's let him go, and because I don't think it usually takes very long to tell the story, so we'll let Enoch go and then go from there.
Okay, and we will. You have the time. We're going to hear this one way or the other, as long as you stay play with us. We're talking the Ghost Body Network tonight, here with James Salcedo, of course, of Salcedo Paranormal, not just a dear friend of the show, but also the paranormal expert of the show. And what do you know about this whole business of the Ka, or neuroscience, and this weirdness of the phantom limb syndrome? And yeah, it's complicated, but also it's developing, and I think it's incredible to think about in a lot of different ways. One more time, 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. We'll put you on the show. Let's go to Austin. Austin in Michigan. What's up, brother? You're on Troubled Minds. How are you, sir? Go right ahead.
I'm doing well. How are you?
Pretty good. I have no complaints other than speak up just a little bit, and welcome to the thing. All yours. What's on your mind?
How do I sound now?
Better. ASMR. Whatever you're grinding on in the back, stop grinding on that. But keep talking.
That was just me adjusting my microphone.
Right. I was just making a joke. Everybody relax. Go ahead, sir. I was just making a joke. Go ahead, sir.
Yes, I just heard about this phantom limb thing. A week ago, I visited a cousin of mine that she makes prosthetic limbs for people that have lost their limbs. And she was telling me about that last week, where people can have pain of something that isn't there anymore because the coding in the brain still registers it is there. And I just was reading about this earlier today, about why yoga and stuff like Tai Chi or Qigong so important, is because if you have any traumas or pains from previous traumas or injuries, and you don't work on your cardiovascular system and the nervous system together with these breathing techniques, which focuses on controlling your heart flow, your blood flow of your cardiovascular system with your breath, and realizing through meditation that your mind can directly affect your blood flow. Most of us will think too much and cause depression and all kinds of things to disrupt blood flow. And when we have previous traumas, injuries, and we don't flow those areas, because when they get hit with stuff and stuff gets trapped, energy gets built up, and then like it's like dams get formed in your own in your own body's rivers, and then the dams get overwhelmed, and then eventually they burst, and you get things like, it's been attributed to things like cancer and all kinds of diseases that are not coming up with large or any sort of evidence on what the causes or solutions could be. A lot of the mysterious diseases and ailments and cancers have been attributed to things of this nature, where imbalances in the nervous system and the cardiovascular system through these traumas or injuries, or like the phantom thing's extremely interesting, because I have someone that lives very close to me that I think about almost every day. I'm not going to get in particular, but he lost his leg in a motorcycle accident. And it makes me wonder, because I've been kind of like helping him out and telling him about my Qigong and Tai Chi kind of stuff. I hope I can talk to him again to see if maybe that can help him, because I'm really interested in if doing these exercises can do that, because I don't really know anyone that has lost a limb and turned off the phantom limb thing by just doing certain exercises. But if there is someone, I could teach them ways on test that for myself, because I've been practicing for over 5 years, and I have certain things that were like a total roadblock in my life that I feel like I removed, and it has put my ego in shock, and I've had to let go of my old identities over and over again, and the old identity keeps coming back like, oh, my precious, come back, like, and you just gotta whack it in the head again with a shovel or whatever.
Yeah, leave
it's
now.
Coming back to life. It's trying to pull you back under to your death, because ego will do that. Like, you identify with one of your vices in life. We all have different vices, but when you choose to identify with that vice, that's when it ultimately leads to your demise, and everyone around you sees that, and it becomes that thing you don't want to face that everyone can see but you. And it's like, if you don't wake up, you're going to scare everyone you love, and you're going to like be taken under by your own ego.
Yeah. By the way, troubled minds is my vice. It's taking me under. I'm just kidding. So okay. So regarding that thing that you said about your acquaintance or friend there with the missing limb and the motorcycle accident, sucks. Sorry to hear that. I was let's see. I'll pull this article up. But so one of the ways, by the way, that they get rid of this eventually is through physical therapy. So it is a link going to be in the description down below, and there are people that are working on this. But maybe you've got a better way to do this. And so if you're going to do this, I would ask you, pretty please, just for posterity, to kind of take notes on the process, because maybe, just maybe, your techniques are better than this. And you never know until you document the thing. And then maybe you can put something out that'll help somebody else somewhere else, or maybe even help a second or a third person and do better than modern medicine, right? With sort of these older ideas. So I'm looking forward to that, if you feel up to it. And if you, again, that the friend has got to feel up to it and all the rest of it. But that would be amazing if some of this Qui-Gong and some of the things you've been into are able to actually quote, cure that phantom limb syndrome, because why not, right? Love to hear that if it works.
I really think it's very possible. Some of the most amazing injuries and diseases I've ever seen were cured from videos that I've watched of like these Shaolin monks doing very like minimalistic type of practice on their patients, and the people in the documentary saying that a lot of people are like completely caught off guard by how they practice medicine. It's just always inspired me, and I think nutrition is going to be very important when it comes to rebuilding things in your body. And I just pulled up in the Shaolin course, the 4-quadrant of health movement is one, and nutrition is another, and then sleep and recovery is its own thing as well, and then stress management. So this is like the foundation of all health. There are those 4 things: movement, nutrition, sleep and recovery, stress management. So I just think having that alone as a blueprint with what you gave me would be enough for me to formulate what I need. And I've been taking notes every day since I seen a yellow feather in my backyard a few weeks ago. I got this meditations book like Marcus Aurelius and the Not Your Journal from the Mulligan Brothers, and I've been daily writing my life now finally. So I guess that's part of what is kind of making me smile a little bit now, because I feel like I'm a lot more squared away than I would have been if I didn't start practicing this.
Amen. And by the way, Austin is very young. In case you didn't know that, he sounds very wise and very aged, but he's not. I met him when he was a whippersnapper of like 22 or 23, and he was the wisest 22 or 23-year-old I've ever met. And he continues sort of on that process, and just kind of looking into these spaces that are less well regarded in the modern space. And it's good. It's good to learn these things, because look, if they're changing your life for the better, certainly they can change other people's lives for the better. And that's why we need to talk about this. What else you got regarding this? I'm calling it the ghost body network and sort of this phantom limb space. Do you think there is more like a spiritual aspect to it? Like we were talking about the subtle body, I'll read you the quick definition on this. It's is a quasi material, the subtle body. It's an aspect of the human body being neither solely physical nor solely spiritual, according to various esoteric, occult, and mystical teachings. Or Jan actually brought up a fantastic point that it's more to do with the nervous system and sort of that biophotonics that we're sort of radiating out into the ether around us, that maybe it's more physical than we think it is. What's your take? And you don't have to take one or the other, but what is your idea on why this sort of thing persists and how maybe physical therapy or what you're doing might be able to cure it or change it? Let's say curing it's a bad word in this space.
Yeah. Not FDA compliant, that word is, right?
Exactly right.
The cardiovascular symbol, as I pulled out of one of these books of wisdom that I found through someone close to me. This guy's name is Joseph. What is it? It says it right here. Harry B. Joseph. So it's kind of a controversial book, but I'm just saying it in respect because I don't want to try to be the arbiter of everything that I collect. I like to just be like, okay, this guy is where I got it from because I believe in that type of honor. So the tree of life and the tree of knowledge, the tree of knowledge is through his first book and maybe even a second, which he references it out of the Bible and uses stuff out of the Bible, pointing to the tree of life being the cardiovascular system and the tree of knowledge being the nervous system. So looking at those things through those lenses, I can see the importance of this breath work. The first week of joining the Shaolin Self-Mastery course, that is what they taught me. And the first day, the first week, the first thing that they teach you is the right way to breathe. And they teach you different methods, and it's all about improving your cardiovascular system through your breathing. That's the number one thing. And after about 6 months of long walks over 3 miles and breath work at the beginning of and end of every day, I was finally able to get to a point to where I wasn't thinking about anything, which is like one of the biggest vices because we're always like, oh, I don't have time to practice breath work. And then you're thinking about things all the time when you do that. So you got to be able to let go and go into the unknown of just feeling yourself. It's very much about developing the feeling, and that's the heart. The heart is the center of all feeling. The lower feelings would be like your desires for things like food and drugs, stimulants, pleasures. And then the higher things would be like the knowledge, intuition, wisdom, and love is the base of those things. So keeping us higher dimensional by focusing on developing us higher dimensionally and staying away from the lower dimensional things. So that's very much you're going to lose friends practicing this if you just heard of it. If you just heard of it, you're very much going to probably lose a couple friends because they're going to be like, you mean you're not going to do this anymore? You just want to learn and grow?
I see. You're not going to come play pool with us and smoke cigars and drink beer? And you're like, nah, that's not the best for me. Yeah, that makes sense.
No, I want to go barefoot in the sand and practice breathing or whatever.
That makes sense.
Or do gardening.
that makes sense. But here's the thing, though, regarding that. It's interesting that, when you're young, and I'm not maligning you for being young. God bless you. Get it, earn it, do the things, have a great life. I'm saying that when you're young, you think that that's everything, right? Like for the most part, like, oh, my friends. And then as you get older, I'm an old guy. Look at all the gray hair. You're like, well, that kind of seemed overrated a little bit. like who cares? Who cares what Jimmy from the block thought? Like, and why did I want to do that crap with Jimmy anyway? He was a jerk. It just becomes, sort of a clarity space, I guess. But look, as part of it. So the reason I brought it up is not to crap on our old friends or who used to be friends. It's to say, look at all the friends we've made along the way as part of this. You and I would have never met if you weren't doing the thing and I wasn't doing the thing. Right. And so there's there's always a light, silver silver lining, I guess.
Yeah, I really wanted to. I keep forgetting to bring this up. The whole purpose of why I brought up the breathing was because I wanted to share what I really felt like I got out of it. Was I got to the point where I could go over 30 seconds filling up the belly. And I noticed after failing over and over again, filling up the belly the right way, I was like raising my belly before I was breathing into it. I wasn't just letting the air flow into there. I still do that. And it's always just let go, let it fill in slowly. If you think about like anything besides that, just linking your mind to a feeling, that's the best way to explain it, of where that air is in your belly filling up. And once that happens, you're going to get over 30 seconds of air going in there, and it's going to be extremely relaxed. And then when you get good at that, you can fill up the chest, but only after the belly is full. And if you skip that, you will not get the 1 minute. You will not get past 1 minute, because you still can put like 30 seconds, another 30 seconds into the top parts of your chest. And that's, you got to practice them individually. You're going to fail over and over again. And if you can't accept that and be grateful for failing over and over again, and not let the mind worm come up of, oh, I don't have time. If you can manage your time enough to make a spot in your schedule to do this, you should not be thinking, I don't have enough time, because you already managed that time. You already put down in your schedule that this is what I'm going to do. I made time for it. And it's other things that come up in life. And this is always the test of the discipline, when we have to like make new time for things when other things take away time. But it's so worth it, because I got my heartbeat down to the point to where I could hear it getting slower and slower and slower. And it was like the best feeling I've ever felt in my entire life. I really have a completely different perception on air just from practicing that. I never think of it the same. Whenever I'm at home and I'm not outside very much, I know I feel so guilty. I feel so terrible. I'm like, because I know the outside air with all the senses and everything, it has in itself develops your nervous system by developing your cardiovascular system, by improving your cardiovascular system with just training your breath. You improve everything else. It's the tree of life.
Yep.
It literally brings more life to your cells. So you could have other things going on. You could be eating really bad things or whatever. And that's why I said the 4 quadrants of health, the stress management, movement, nutrition, sleep and recovery, and stress management are the foundations of how you plan to improve your cardiovascular health, besides learning the right way to breathe, which is belly first, chest, top of the chest. You see them doing the thing with the hands in yoga or qigong or tai chi. It's part, your hands are, you do when you're talking, you move your hands. It's like controlling focus. So when you use your tentacles, your 10 fingers, and you put them over areas and you just link your mind to the breath. I don't want to say think about breathing, because then you're thinking too much already. You literally have to practice and train to link your brain to your breath. You can do that. It just takes a lot of being okay with messing up over 20 times. You're like, okay, I'll do 10 at the beginning and 10 at the end of every day. You start counting and then you count wrong, and then you're like, oh, I'm going to give up. Just don't give up. That's only 2 mistakes to mastery, is not getting started and not going all the way. And I recommend this to anyone that is going through any kind of stress, especially. It's the best thing you could do is learn how to breathe. It is the ultimate stress manager, I think, for the foundation of your health. Sleep and recovery, stress management, both of them.
I've been sleeping more. I've been resting more, and I'm with you. And as you said, and I've said this previously to you, like I wear a one of those heart rate monitor wristwatches now, and because if you haven't done it, find one, borrow one, whatever, and check it out. And as you breathe properly, it's wild to just watch your heart rate just go down and down and down, breathing properly. It's wild. And we're not in the modern space. We're like running around and we're like short breaths. It's like staccato breathing, like, right? Like panting like a dog. And we're not supposed to breathe that way. Like our literal body is waiting for us to breathe properly, and we're not. And it contributes to the stress factor and all the rest of the stuff. Yeah, absolutely. 100%. It sounds like you're selling something. Are you selling something? Are you sharing this, or where do we find this? Free air.
It's this air that is outside of our homes with all the cleaning chemicals and deteriorating building supplies that you're breathing in. Oh, also a warning. This should be on every freaking car Windows sticker, but it's not. And it irritates me because I got to remind my mother about this every time I see her, especially now. Because I just had Claude AI expand on how car companies don't tell you anything about the chemicals that leak off of your car's interiors when the sun's cooking your car. You got the windows open, you go in there, you close the door, you start it up. All that air goes right through your lungs before it goes anywhere else. And all that's like formaldehyde. And oh my gosh, people are gonna, there's no doubt there has to be some kind of respiratory pandemic coming soon, because there's just too much lack of accountability with all the stuff that's affecting your respiratory system, including the lack of movement, and no accountability on what they put inside of these cars' interiors. And you start it up, have all the windows up, and no one's going to get in trouble when your lungs are totally shot from breathing that in every single day. So give your lungs a break, crack the door or something, let it air out, cold or whatever. Just try to get the air out a little bit. Really hot especially, that's the worst, when it's super hot and you can't, all the air is trapped in there. You close the door and you're like, oh, I'll be the cabin's air filter today. I'll just breathe in all the plastic that's been lingering in the air from the sun for however many hours exactly. You've been at work.
Yeah, I live in Vegas, so that's especially pertinent. When you get in the car, you're like, wow, that smells like Chinese plastic. And this car's 14 years old.
Yeah.
Yep, exactly.
It gets worse as they age too. Even when they're brand new, they still, oh man, you get a tasty amount of different chemicals at the beginning. It's like a never-ending flavor of different chemicals.
Exactly.
Throughout the years. I mean, at 30 years, most of your plastic is going to be cracking. Wires are going to, that's the half-life for most plastic. I've done research on that, looking at new cars for years. Old used cars too, because I like the classics. That's one thing you want to keep in mind, is if it's over 30 years old, you're going to be considering replacing like almost all the wires. So with all the new cars and gadgets and stuff, the cars that are 30 years old aren't going to be that common anymore, because it's just too much money to fix all that.
Well said. All that fire stuff, brother. We got calls to get to. We got more from James, and we got Erica behind you. Yeah, look, this is important. Learn to breathe properly. I promise you will not regret it. Austin is working on it. I'm working on it. Watch your heart rate when you do this, and your body will be happier for it. And yes, you caught us. You caught Austin selling free air. You're the best, brother.
Oh God. Yeah, the check's in the mail for sure.
Exactly. Let me know.
Thank you.
I'll let you know when I cash it. You're the best, brother. Appreciate the call. That's Austin in Michigan, a good friend for a long time. And yeah, he's on the game. He's on the game. This type of stuff, the subtle body stuff, is very important. And what do you know about it? And that's why we talk about these ideas together, because there's a ton of stuff happening that we miss in the modern society. James, all yours. We'll stay up late. Two things on staying up late on tonight. I get to go in late tomorrow, so F yeah. So I'm in no massive hurry here. But James, tell us your thing, and then no hurry. Eric's staying up late with us as well. We'll go to Eric, and then we'll wrap this up. And if you got anything to add, of course, you get the final word.
Yeah, great calls from everyone. So this does come up, and it's funny because I never thought of this way before until the show tonight. So I'm going to tell the experience, and then I'll comment on it after real quick. Several years ago, about 13, 14, something like that years ago now, I'm terrible with time, remembering dates and all that, but I fell asleep here in my living room. At the time, I was sleeping on a very comfortable couch, so I didn't mind. And it was late. It was either late night or early morning because it was dark. And I fell asleep there, and I started to wake up. I felt like I woke up, and I realized I was not on the couch anymore. I was on this, like a table bed kind of thing, but it was all one solid, flat surface, which I was not on that kind of the couch I had was not solid and flat. And so I noticed that right away. And I opened my eyes, and I could see I was in a room with blue walls and these white cabinets built into the walls with some kind of electronics or computers in them built into the walls. And there were these 3 gray blurs, human size, just moving around me and this table. But that's all I could see of them was blurs. But I realized I could not move except for my eyes. And so at first I was thinking, well, this is weird. I'm hoping this is just a dream because it's really weird. But I just could not move, and I could not wake up or anything. And I tried to move, and I couldn't. And then I heard my parents off to one side saying that everything was going to be fine. But their voices had no emotion in them. And I was able to look over, and I saw 2 more of these gray blurs. So I got confirmation, basically, that it was not my parents. And above me, all I could see was light. I'm not sure if it was one solid light for the ceiling, or if it was just so much light that that's all I was seeing. But as I was seeing all this and trying to move, there was something coming down from the ceiling, and it was like a robotic extension kind of arm, not a human-shaped arm, just I guess you could almost call it like a skeleton arm or arm frame of an arm. And it was coming down toward me, and so I kept on trying to move, and eventually, and these gray blurs were moving around me. I never saw or felt them do anything around me. They were just moving. And eventually this thing came down, and I saw there was a needle attached to the end of this arm. And, of course, I started to freak out a bit, because what is that for? And it moved toward my head. And eventually it came down toward my left eye. Now, I'm already legally blind. I was born that way. So I was freaking out. And it touched my eye. It actually touched my left eye. And I freaked out, and everything went black, and I came to back here at home on my couch. And I don't know what that was. But after that is when I started to have to notice that my eyes were not the same as they were before that. And I didn't connect these 2 things together myself. Actually, it was friends of the show that I told them about this years ago. And they asked about that, about when I had this experience and when my eyes started to change. And but after that experience, I started getting eye strain and light sensitivity, which I never had before. And ever since then, these things have been slowly increasing. And then there are times where they flare up, and I'm just basically immobilized for a day or so. But the odd thing about that experience and this topic tonight is what I mentioned earlier, where people have described abductions from what appear to be aliens, where these people felt like they were taken out of their body, but they also still had physical sensations in a way, or of a sort, where there was pain at times and just different things. They could feel their surroundings. And I never thought about that until tonight, because my mind just went to somehow I was physically transported to this other place. But now I'm thinking about it, and maybe I wasn't. Maybe it was some kind of an out-of-body experience, abduction, crossover kind of thing there. So that's why I wanted to mention that tonight.
Yeah, it's one of those ones that kind of sticks, for a lot of reasons. And not just because some people are saying, what's up? YY says succubus encounter possibly. And certainly it fits into that mold of that, scientifically they would describe it as sleep paralysis, right? Sort of that aspect. And you bring it back with you. But I don't know, like I said, you know me, like I'm willing to hear experiencer accounts and then think about them in the long term. And this isn't the first one. Like, this is modern times. You're here with us talking about it and you've seen it. And so these are the types of things where it's like, okay, so if this is possible, we know James, who's gone through something like this, very similar to like that fire in the sky aspect of not identical, of course, but similar. And then it traces back in modern times to a lot of different accounts. I don't know. And that becomes the thing is that, you, as always, you guys believe what you want on how this fits. But I believe James because I know James and he's an honest man and that's it. And to me, as usual, it's complicated. And I say that not because I say that for brevity. I don't say that to obfuscate. I say that for brevity because there's a lot of things to talk about. But yeah, I appreciate you sharing that. And it's horrible that you went through that. And again, sort of the pain in your eyes and that happened as a part of it, the needle and all this stuff. And then your vision actually sort of taking a downturn after the fact. It's like, it's almost as if there's, dare we suggest something in play here that we never, ever considered. And that's the point. That's the point. So yeah, thank you for sharing that. Great stuff. Anything to add? We're going to go to Eric and then we'll wrap this up.
Just that I don't really know what it was, that whole experience. And I describe it as, and I always say this too with a lot of my experiences, is that they seemed like an alien abduction. It seemed like the stereotypical description of a ghost. And I say that because, again, I don't know what any of this is. So I think it's important to point out what it felt like and what it seemed like, but also be aware that I could be wrong or it could be something completely different from what I think it was. So yeah, looking forward to Eric's call.
Yeah, as usual. And that's the thing. And don't forget another among many other admirable things about James is that he's willing to say, you know what, this is what it felt like. This is what was my experience, but I don't know. I don't know. So let's hear more. Let's get more data. Let's suggest this or that, or, maybe find some people who had similar experiences. And then that's the whole point of this. And that's where I'm at too with my mind. Cause I don't really know, but per usual, right? We live in that post-truth world where everybody knows everything. And it's like, is it really that? I mean, is it really like that? Anyway, I'd love to hear your thoughts as we continue trucking on. Let's go to Eric. Eric in Ohio. What's up, my man? You're on Troubled Minds. How are you? And go right ahead. What's going on?
I am well. How is everyone there?
No complaints out of me. Just doing Troubled Mind stuff.
Excellent. I was thinking that France at the turn of the century, the last century, not this last turn of the century, but, going into the 1900s, was a pretty cool and hip place to be. A lot of Renaissance things going on. People drinking a lot of absinthe, which is pretty cool. And, of course, in 1894, Debussy had wrote Prelude to an Afternoon of a Faun, which was brilliant, based on a poem his friend wrote, and is actually the ancient DNA of all cinematic music today, with the possible exception of John Williams. And there was another French experimenter there, and he had a pretty weird name, basically Hippolyte Barduk. And he was the first person to take electrographs of hands and leaves, which later in the mid 50s accumulated in the work of, what's the dude's name? Semyon Kirlian. And in the 70s became widely known as Kirlian photography. And one of the things about Kirlian photography that was published pretty early on was that you could take a leaf and cut it and then take a Kirlian photograph of the leaf, and the outline of the leaf and all of its vessels that carries nutrients from the leaf down into the plant were all still visible with the Kirlian photography, even though they had been physically cut off. So it just struck me as bearing on the question about, having limbs severed and still being able to and you do when you can just
Okay, you're going roboty. You're going roboty for a second. Hang tight, just a minute. Let's let the internet choppy waves do its thing. And yeah, I've seen that. So if you trim out part of the leaf and then still to do this photography, it still is projecting the part that's removed from it, right? And so in that capacity, once again, so we're talking about nervous systems. We're talking about sort of a metaphysical aspect to this ghost body network, as I'm describing. Well, this is happening with leaves that have fallen off of trees that are no longer, quote, alive or attached to their living systems. I guess it depends on definitions. Try it and see if you're less choppy, if you can hear me.
Yeah, is that any better?
Way better, way better. You just chopped up for a second. We got some internet chops, but you're good to go. Welcome back to the thing.
No, I was just saying, it's just reminiscent of having, you have limbs severed and you still have the hardware in your brain to run the limb. You just don't have it. But with the robotic prosthetic, that you still have that hardware in your brain is pretty fortunate, because you can run those pretty easily and quickly because it hasn't developed away. Much like memory, like chemicals will eventually create the physical hardware, the synapses in your brain, and they're going to be there for a while. But yeah, like you were saying, with the leaf and other plants and other people and stuff that they've done in these, all of these things still held energy traces, as if as if there was a component, an energy component to life, that form mattered in terms of that energy or life, just like form matters in terms of how do you put together the various molecules of the elements. How you put things together makes a difference in some cases. And it also harkens back to the ancients, the idea that you were absolutely going to have a physical body. Like even in modern Christianity, there are some Christian Protestant churches that say you're going to have a perfect body in heaven, you're going to never be lost, you're going to have a back, and when you lose time, you'll have a back or whatever. And it could be, a remnants of that. The fact that there's always the body you carry with you, the metaphysical body, the physical body runs down to the temporal wear and tear. And earlier you were talking about the ancient Egyptians and how they had their soul laid out in terms of levels, and you were talking about
hang tight once again. We got some chop. You've been roboty and choppy. I'm not sure if you can strike a pose or do a dance or pray to the internet gods or something, but yeah, it's bad. Well, I can hear you. We can follow the things you're saying. You sound like you're deep throating a robot right now. It's not good.
I'm sorry.
Way better. I don't know what you just did, but that is way freaking better. Go ahead, sir.
Just the ka, the most ancient word for magic is heka, Heka, and it's an Egyptian word, and it uses the ka. It's basically when you use the force inside your body to affect material things in the outside material world. And if you do that, you're practicing Heka. And that was the Egyptians' first and early word for magic. And they even had a god called Heka that was represented in a statue form, anthropomorphic form, with hands and arms coming out of her head. And she was also a goddess of medicine. And a lot of the magic was, poultices and that sort of thing, herbs and holistic in that time. So she was a magical god of medicine. But yeah, that's where the first magic term was coined, was from the Egyptians using the ka outside to affect things.
I love it. I love that you're an academic, a reformed academic that has become a full troubled mind. Lots of ways to look at the world outside of the academic space. But as always, wisdom is knowledge. And so it doesn't matter, as I've always said, it doesn't matter where you get it. Learn some things, do some things, and don't count anything out, because some of the sources you deem most likely personally may be the most fulfilling. And so who really knows? Fire stuff, brother. Appreciate the call. What else you got?
Oh, no, that's all good. Just wanted to bring up those points. I'll drop a link on Carillion Photography in the show chat.
Thank you for that. Appreciate it very much. Thanks for staying up late with us. Thanks for considering these wild ideas, and thanks for being you. Always a pleasure, my man.
Thanks, sir.
Have a great night. You know what we love, and that's Eric in Ohio. Go check out his music again, Hammersmith Music. You can find that, of course, at troubledminds.org/friends, where you can find most of our friends. Shout out to Dragon Rose. Congratulations on the launch today. I'm sorry about that. I still haven't got the stuff up. I'm having problems with my old hard drives because I don't have enclosures to put them in. I don't have anyway, I'm not going to bore you with the details, but I have to order some stuff to get all the stuff. But anyway, I'll get you up on the thing because I can't get back into my website because I'm a moron. But anyway, shout out to Dragon Rose, which will be on the list here. And also follow Eric. Thanks for the great call. And as always, you know what to do, troubledminds.org/friends. Go to right there. I'm going to click it. It's going to highlight it. It's alphabetical. Follow Eric. Hammersmith Music, and you can find not just the work he's doing there, but he's got a link tree. And as he adds additional projects, I hope he continues working on some stuff, because he's a very smart guy, as you can tell, and very, again, sort of academic, but he's always been a troubled mind. He didn't turn troubled minds, but I think there's a lot of information that plays into these spaces that are relevant, and looking forward to whatever Eric comes up with next. And of course, Dragon Rose and all the rest of you guys. You guys are the best. Thanks for being part of this. Thanks for caring about the conversations. Thanks for putting in with my garbage, because I'm, I wouldn't call myself garbage in particular, but I would say sometimes I'm a sloppy mess. James, anything to add? Let's get out of here. And don't you dare insult me.
No, you're not garbage. You're something, but you're not garbage.
All right, thanks.
No,
That's
kidding.
Nice. That's nice.
See how I did that there? I didn't insult you. I just,
I'll take it. I'll take it.
Great calls from everyone, Eric and Austin, and everyone tonight. The idea of the leaf is fascinating. The aspect of it, the image of it appearing almost whole, even though it had been broken. It makes me wonder, and this is maybe something to leave off with too. I wonder if in those cases where, let's say, the unfortunate happens and someone does lose a limb, I'm really curious if you were to get all kinds of energy detection devices and put them near the space where that limb would be, would they pick up anything? I'm honestly actually really curious about that, if they would find anything or not.
I wonder. That's like you said, it's a good place to kind of pick up and think about these things as we continue down the road of wondering why sometimes it's easy, but why sometimes it's not so easy. Because personally, I think there's a lot of things out there in the world that are not as easily quantified and categorizable as you might expect. And fire stuff, James. Appreciate you. Thanks for staying up late and being patient and the glue of the show and all the things. You know him, you love him. James Salcido, the paranormal expert of Troubled Minds. Please go give him a follow in all the places. SalcidoParanormal.com is the best way to do it. SALSIDO paranormal.com. It's a fantastic website, super sexy. And go check out all his books and his podcast and his Discord and all the things. James, you're the best. Appreciate you staying up late and just being you. I appreciate you so much. It's you can't put it into words, but I'm trying to do my best. Go follow James, pretty please.
No, just always glad to be here and talk about whatever I can, whenever I feel like I might have something to add to it. So thank you again, and thanks everyone for listening in.
Amen, brother. You are the best. You know what to do. If you want to help us help our friends, there's a big list of friends. Like I said, if you should be on that list, you should be. This is an in list, not an out list. And if I dawdle on it and don't add you quickly, I'm sorry about that. Like I said, there are some tech issues sometimes, and like Rumble, I'm not kidding you. I've tried to add Hiker and Sweets to the Rumble mod list for a few times now. And for some reason, it's not working. So the process has changed and I can't figure it out, or it's errors or something happening. But anyway, actually, wait, a thought just came to mind. Anyway, point is, everything's not as it seems sometimes. So don't take everything personally, by the way. But if you want to help Troubled Minds, help our friends. troubledminds.org/friends. If you feel like you want to help us and you got a few minutes this week, scroll down that list and go make some accounts in some places you don't have them and follow these people. Go check out their music. Go check out the books they've written. Go check out all of the things they're working on. Because let me tell you what, like I said, this is not about me. This is about us. And that's the thing. That's what makes this magical, by the way. Is there's like you want me to ego play and you want me to, kind of stomp faces and climb to the top and reach out to all the toppest influencers. I could do that. I could do that. But why? Like, I came here to do this because this is not what anybody else does. Right? Why are you here? Not a judgment, just a question. And so, that's it. If you want to help us, help our friends. troubledminds.org/friends. If you want to help us in the greater context of the conversation, spread the word. Let people know a conversation is happening, but we're not going to tell you who to vote for. We're not going to use their narratives. We're not going to talk about lefty-righty politics. We're not going to talk about any of this nonsense. Because let me tell you what, so much of that is nonsense. I don't see it. I don't get it. I think it's all been manufactured to make us hate each other. And I hate that notion. So let's do something else. Here we are. Congratulations to Gordo, if he's still there, our new mod over there on Rumble, when I get it figured out. Because, of course, they said we need a male mod over here to tamp down some of the estrogen. Okay, all right. As you wish. As you wish. If you want to help us directly, and again, like I said, there are costs to the show, all the AI stuff I use, you name it, paying for the website, all the things. Troubledfans.com, you can find, not Michael Strange in a hot tub, you can find the hottest Troubled Minds merch around. And buy some stuff over there. Go buy a hat, go buy a shirt. There's a really sweet shirt with it's called Dimensional Influencer. It's my favorite. Go check that out. Some hats and some stuff. And anyway, go. That's how you help us. Or, of course, tip or sub up on Rumble. Appreciate you guys very much. As we finish, it goes exactly like this. Be sure, be strong, be true. Thank you for listening. From our troubled minds to yours, have a great night. Which button do I press? Is it this one?